I
Welcome
like your
to.
Black Panther shirt.
Oh yeah, man! I had to rock the comic book superhero
Yeah.
T-shirt, man.
Yeah.
You know,
I should have put my
and
Wakanda poster behind
oh
me.
heck yeah, man! I try to represent, like either that or like some rock band shirt,
Yeah.
man. Like
Yeah.
man, how are you doing
I'm
today?
good. How are you?
Other than my back hurting, I'm cool, man.
Oh no. I'm sorry.
I just slept the wrong way, man. It's all cool. I'm gonna get over it.
It happens. It happens.
Man, so let me introduce you and let me know if I get wrong or something, anything wrong. So for all of you guys that a lot of you guys know most likely, but even for those that do and don't know, I'm gonna introduce Kitten Kuroi. Kitten Kuroi is a Grammy-winning vocalist or multi-instrumentalist as well, playing saxophone, piano, and guitar. She's toured. She's a songwriter. She's toured worldwide. She's a songwriter, arranger, and actress and performer. She's worked with Elvis Costello, Billy Idol, Kate Hudson, Shanice, Paul Stanley, Ingebert Humperdinck. I could never say that cat's name. Norwood Fisher of Fishbone, Stephen Perkins from Jane's Addiction, the Pussycat Dolls, and recently performed with Ray on the Grammys. And she's worked with so many other people. Literally, you guys, it would be an encyclopedia for me to actually like list everyone this lady has worked with. And seriously, it's just so cool that she's been doing what she has, and I'm glad that she was interested. And one thing I noticed that you worked with Mark Garson. I love the album Aladdin
Yes.
Sane, and his one of his piano that Aladdin Sane piano solo is my favorite. How was it working with that whole with the Bowie celebration?
It was amazing. It was like a dream. All we needed was just Bowie to come back to life and like and join us. But it was incredible, and Mike Garson is a genius. And what's interesting is he never plays that solo the same way twice.
Man,
So every single time it's just a new experience. So it was fantastic. It was amazing.
that's so right. I wish I could have caught that. I'm a Bowie fan myself, especially anything 70s
Oh,
Bowie, from like The Man Who Sold the World to like the stuff that he did with the DAM trio, like
yeah,
Almar. I always forget Carlos Almar and like all those cats, that whole rhythm
yeah,
section.
yeah.
And, I mean, I like all of that. Like I was a Stardust, like Ziggy Stardust fan when I was a little kid, because he would remind me of like a superhero, like a
Absolutely.
rock star superhero. Like,
Absolutely. Well,
and plus,
interesting that you say that because March 31st, I'm going to be performing in Afro Bowie. So I'll get to play
oh,
again with Vernon Reed, of Living Color, Corey Glover of Living Color, Norwood of Fishbone. Like it's going to be Omar Hakim, who played with Bowie. It's
yep.
it's going to be amazing here in LA. So I'm
Where
excited.
that's gonna be lit. I'm in LA, right?
Oh, well,
I gotta
Terragram
find out.
Ballroom. I'll send you the flyer. Terragram Ballroom, March 31st. Come on through.
That's gonna be lit.
I
Yeah,
think
I gotta come to that.
Moby's gonna be singing with us too. So,
What? Last time I saw Moby was at Sage off in Silver Lake. That vegan.
oh
I know
yeah,
you're vegan.
I know that. I know. I feel
That's
like
the
you've
last
done your research on me, so I feel like you know.
man. Now I have to ask this because I know you're
Okay.
originally from Inglewood. So you do you dig stuff I eat?
Yes. What are you talking about? Of
that,
course.
that restaurant is the bomb, dude.
Yeah.
Like I love that spot. Man,
And
and
the
I was just
owner is such an inspiration.
man. She
The,
looks she looks like man. I've met her a few times. She has this just presence about her
this
that's just like,
presence, this very regal presence, and just this eternal youth about her.
yep,
So, hmm.
man. So with that, I have to ask this, and there's a few things like I've listened to, I've read things and I've listened to interviews, but before I get to those questions, I want to ask like, um, how did you get? I asked this to a lot of my guests. Oh, the audience is saying what's up.
Oh,
What's
hey,
up, Tex
Melissa.
Mosley? check out Tex Mosley's band, Neverland Ranch Davidians. They're amazing. And then Melissa Aguirre. I don't know if I
Yeah,
said her.
that's my sister.
Awesome. Awesome. This is so cool. I want to make sure I get all the comments.
I think
What's up?
Kelly's
What's up?
in there too. Kelly's my play mother.
Right on, right on, right on. Shouts to you. Shouts to all of you guys, man. Thanks for showing up, man. Showing up, and we gonna show
Yeah,
out.
we have somebody from Germany that just came in.
Whoa. How do you say the TL? Is
He
that
goes
him?
by they go by Tio.
Oh, that's a pretty clever way to spell that. That's dope. Your sister's like, hey, doll, you look gorgeous, baby. Yeah, you look stunning, by the way. That just
Thank you.
amazing. I think, like, man, that's awesome.
Thank you.
Man. Well, here's a question. Like, what got you into music? Like, what's the earliest, like, introduction you have had into music? And this is a two-part question. What's the
Okay.
earliest introduction to rock and roll music?
Okay, so my earliest introduction to music is probably the womb. So
Wow.
my mom listening to music all the time, and my dad. And then when I was born, when I was in the crib, my mom used to sing me to sleep. And then I picked that up. So I used to sing myself to sleep in the crib. So I have been, just music has been my whole life. I think I was the little baby that would be dancing to the, washing machine or something.
Wow.
I hear music and everything some of my earliest memories of knowing that I was falling asleep is that I would hear whole symphonies in my head.
Wow.
Yeah. So still sometimes I hear songs that I've never heard of before, fully fleshed out in my head. And I'm like, oh, I'm falling asleep. My first my first conscious introduction to rock, where I was like, oh, like I'm aware of what this is kind of thing, and it probably was earlier, but the first song that I recall getting goosebumps over was God Gave Rock and Roll to You by Kiss, in the movie Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. I think it was either Excellent Adventure or Bogus Journey. But that was like my first, and I was like, what am I feeling with all of the goosebumps and everything? And I think I also was very aware what the words meant. Like I could, even though I didn't completely understand, I understood it, and it really, really, really connected to me. And then decades later, I end up working with Paul Stanley.
Yeah, I read about that. I'm like, how was that? That's amazing.
It was.
How did you meet? I'm curious. It's amazing,
So
man.
it's, the people that do music in LA's a big town, but it's small when it comes to musicians. Like we all somehow know each other. Like I'm still meeting people that are new, and then you go on social media and I've got like 150 friends in common, like, and they're not just random people that I've heard of, but they're people that I've known for years. So it was kind of like at some point in time we're bound to have met each other. So anyways, I was in a musical, and one of the cast members that left the musical, they're in Paul Stanley's band, Soul Station. So when his side project, that's all Motown stuff, right?
I didn't know about that.
Oh yeah, yes. It's so much fun. And the thing is about that. So before I even met Paul Stanley, my husband bought us tickets to Soul Station because he loves Kiss, and he knew who Kiss was before I even knew who Kiss was. I just knew their music and didn't put it together. I grew up in a Christian household, so like I thought MTV is a portal directly to hell. So I would only watch it at like cousins' house.
Wow.
So I didn't know exactly what was going on. I heard it through movies and TV shows, really. So anyways, he bought us tickets to see Paul Stanley at Soul Station, and then I was like, oh my gosh, I know his guitarists, I know some of his singers, and it was a wonderful experience, and something that gave me even more respect for Paul was that during the show, he actually educates people that don't know about the origins of Motown, who wrote specific songs, who was the lead vocalist on the song that he just did. Like, he pays deep homage to actual Black music history in his show. So he's not just, I love Motown songs and I'm going to sing them and you'll just have to figure out, he doesn't, to be controversial, he doesn't Elvis Presley it. He actually, he's doing the music and he has so much respect. And also he's from Detroit,
Detroit,
so that was
Rock
also
City.
around him growing up. So that was so amazing. So we saw him do Soul Station. Years later, we stood in line to get autographed copies of his book, and we took a picture. He doesn't know me from nothing because he's just, it's just a lot of people. So then I'm in a musical, and one of the actresses in the musical was like, a few people, like two of the singers that sing with him have to sub out. So she brought on me and another person from the musical to sing with Paul. And she didn't know how much I loved Paul. And I also don't, I'm trying to be cool, so I'm not going to let it be known. But at the first day of rehearsal, I sang Who Wants to Be Lonely with him, which is from, I think, the Asylum album, and it's like my favorite song. So I was like, Paul, I love this song. Do you know this song? And I started singing it, and then he started singing it with me. And there's actually a video floating around the internet of he and I trying to remember the words to that song together. But yeah, it was a great experience. He's super awesome, so nice, so
That's
great. Like, he takes care of the band, makes sure everybody's together and okay, So I had a wonderful time.
that is so cool.
Yeah.
Speaking of like the bands, now from what I knew, I know that you do vocals. What was but I've also read that you do other instruments too. What was the first instrument that you started playing? And like,
yeah, the first instrument that I started playing was piano. And I kind of have musical ADHD. I have everything ADHD because I have it. But
that's awesome.
But the first one was piano because that's the one that I had the most access to. So we had piano at the house. If I went to my grandma's house, because we really were either at my house, my family home, or at my grandma's home, and there was pianos either place. So that was the first one. And then behind me here is like my first keyboard. It's from like the 90s. It's like the Yamaha PSR 150.
Heck
It's
yeah.
got lion sounds and monkey sounds.
Yeah, the percussion.
Yeah, exactly. It's got all of that. It's got the songs that are pre-boarded on, but you can change the key in the middle of the song, so you think you're really doing something.
That's awesome.
I have that. This is like one of my first instruments to make music with. And then my first non-piano instrument was the flute, and I hated it. I hated it. I had to put too much air in to get anything out, and I was like, this is too much. And then my next instrument was my saxophone, alto sax, and I was in the school band, and I was squeaking all over the place. Like, my mom made me rehearse outside, so the neighbor's dog could be the ones to deal with me. And then I was in the high school marching band playing the alto sax. So
that's so cool.
Yeah.
Do you still play? I'm sorry. Sorry about that.
Do I still play the sax?
I was just gonna say, do you still play like any of that? Any of that stuff today, or like,
I dibble and I dabble. Mostly I do, keyboard stuff. I can do some guitar. I keep going back to it and then just being like, oh, look at this. So we have guitars, we have auto harp, I have all kinds of digital instruments that can do crazy things. And, I need to just focus, but I try to put a little bit, I try to spread the love,
It's all creativity, man. It could be overwhelming, especially, you have a lot of ideas musically, and it's just like, man, it's like, it's being an exuberant exuberant person too. Like you have these ideas, but you're just like, ah,
It's, oh my gosh, and it's so much. And it can come. So this is kind of funny. I have, oh, let's see, Kelly said band geeks live. Yes, we do. And then Tio says, love the sound of auto harps. Yeah, I have an auto harp and it has a DI in it because eventually what I would love to do is play it live and have distortion and everything.
heck yeah.
So,
That's what I'm talking about. I love,
well,
love distortion, man.
yes.
I play my upright bass with distortion sometimes.
It's so
Stuff
good.
is awesome.
It's so good. But I totally forgot what was I saying?
Oh,
give me back.
Just about like basically songs coming into your head and having all these instruments, you know.
Yes, they come really fast. The ideas come really fast. One time I was writing a song with a friend and we were like, oh, we're killing it. This is so good. Oh my God. And we're like, let's stop. Let's go to lunch. We had this amazing lunch. He forgot to save and he forgot to turn on auto save. And when we came back, it was gone from my mind. Like it never happened. And I think a month later I was folding socks and I go, oh my God, I remember the song. And then I ran over to the studio and we cut it again. But
yes,
that's how fast some things like it. I have to put it down when I think of it in some kind of way. So I have voice notes forever. I've been working on a project for 1,000 years, and part of it is because I'm like, oh, I want to put this in. No, I gotta take that out. Oh, yeah, it's coming. Promise.
I totally understand. Trust me, I totally understand. And then there's different ways that you want to do a song like that you have, and then like you could do it whether it's acoustic or electric. You could have so many different ways of doing the acoustic version and so many different ways the electric version, and then there's some kind of weird Moog synthesizer type.
Oh, please. You don't even know. I have a friend of mine helped me get all kinds of sounds. And so I was doing production. So my husband and I also sometimes do production for independent artists and stuff. So we're building that. But so anyways, we said, oh, we could do this in kind of like a Muse kind of way. And I love Muse. Like I love Muse. And I realized that one of the keyboard like sound packs that my friend got for me on my laptop are the same exact keyboard sounds that Muse has. So I can do all the cool arpeggiations and all the different cool like electronic, like I'm overwhelmed and overjoyed.
That's awesome.
So don't get me started.
No, that's so cool. I love talking about stuff like that, you know. My friend Evan Taylor, who I interviewed last year, has a studio that he has all this analog stuff. And I went in there, what was supposed to be a 30-minute consultation meeting because they wanted to just kind of get to know what I wanted. Dude, it ended up like a few hours because we're just vibing off. So it's the same thing that we're doing. Like, that's how it is, though. You know?
We get too excited. It's like kids in the candy shop.
Yep.
You know?
Exactly. You know, it's like, you know, you go to Guitar Center and hey, you know, me and my dad would be jamming out.
Oh my gosh. Oh my God. When I was a kid, I wanted to have a big house, and that big house had a music studio in it. And only because I saw that Mariah Carey had a music studio in her house, and I didn't know you could do that. And I was like, what? So that's what I'm going to have. And then next door was going to be like an office supplies store and office supply / art supply store, so I could just go in it and get all my things. And then on the other side is going to be a music supplies. This was my childhood dream. My compound.
Man, but man, now you're pretty close to it with like the studio and all that and just what you're doing. That's pretty cool. Absolutely. So I have to ask this.
Okay. Oh Lord.
Yeah, I have to do the B-boy stance. Who are you? Okay, I have to. Do you remember that Run DMC Aerosmith video, Walk This Way?
Absolutely. That's actually the first rock music video that I recall seeing.
Oh, for
And then I
real?
thought, oh my gosh, they could put I'm so happy. Like, I always love when people come together. And if people come together through music, I've been like that since a child. Like, I'm that person that cries for humanity. But if humanity is also coming together through music, like God gave rock and roll to you.
Yep.
Oh, 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 oh. Okay. But yes.
No,
Mm-hmm.
that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I have to ask. Oh, there's one part of that video where Steven Tyler breaks down the wall and you'll see Run and like DMC. They're just kind of looking at him like. So I always think of that whenever like I'm like looking at somebody. I'm like, it's
Yeah,
either that or
absolutely.
that stuff is comedy,
Absolutely.
man. That serious face.
They were dead serious. It was not a game.
Man. But the question that I was gonna ask with that b-boy stance is like, who are your musical inspirations like coming up, and just even like what are you listening to now, or and actually both past and present music in any form of shape or artist or anything like that.
I have this far off look because you know that just going through. I mean, if I could try to, okay, the names that pop off just randomly, in random order. Billy Idol, of course. Okay. My two rock mothers, I call them my fairy godmothers, my mother, Tina Turner and Grace Jones.
I usually have a Grace Jones button right here, man. And
It's okay. She's always in the room.
love
She's
Grace
always
Jones.
in the
Love Grace
room.
Jones. I
And
saw her at Hollywood Bowl when she was.
I was there.
Sorry, I'm like, you got
I
me
was
excited.
there. I was there. I went by
What?
myself. I bought a ticket for just me. And I went by, and all my friends were like, well, how come you didn't tell us that we were? I'm like, I was there to see my mom.
Yep. Hey, do you remember when Janelle Monáe played with Of
Yes, I do. When
Montreal?
she got up and was twerking on her, I told you I was like,
Killing
I'm
it.
sitting with people I don't know, and I'm up giving it, singing, and they're just looking at me like, who is she with? Who was her handler? You know, and the thing is, like, growing up, I don't think I really put it together because, like I said, I saw MTV, but like here and there, right? And so I didn't realize how much I connected with Grace Jones until I got older. And then when I saw her do, um, she was singing and she was doing the hula hoop for the Queen's Diamond Jubilee. It was a wrap
Wow.
because it's not in here, but I have 3 hula hoops.
That's awesome.
I have 3 hula hoops, and I was like, oh my God. Like when Obama got sworn in the first time, I took a hula hoop. It wasn't even travel hula hoop. I took a hula hoop on the road. Well, maybe it was a travel one, but I took it on the road and I was literally hula hooping for the whole, like I was like, yes. And I was hula hooping for the whole duration of the swearing in ceremony.
That's a trip.
So yeah, so there's them, obviously David Bowie. I like Muse, Kendrick Lamar, especially To Pimp a Butterfly. That album is that. Like I feel like people kind of skip over that one, but that one is like as soon as I turned it on, I sat there and listened to the whole thing. And for TMI information, I was like, they're like, Kendrick Lamar has a new album. I'm like, all right, let's see what it's about. I had to go to the bathroom, and I was like, I'll just skim through things. I ended up staying on the bot for the whole album because I was like, oh my God. Oh my God.
Very engaging.
It's just, huh?
Isn't Kamasi Washington on that?
Yes.
And like all those cats like
Thundercats on it.
Yeah. Yep.
Snoop's on it and Thundercat. Oh my God, I love Thundercat.
He's a cool cat.
I saw him live at Afropunk. It was like 2015 or something like that. My husband bought me tickets. He was like, you can choose a friend, and nobody else wanted to go. So it was just me, and then I just made friends. I brought a big old towel, like a big old blanket, so as I amass friends, they can sit on the blanket with
That's
me. And we all had
awesome.
a spot in the first. I didn't know anybody when I got there. I had all kinds of friends by the time I left. And I was so close that Lenny Kravitz, he's playing guitar and he's sliding down and he's looking at me. He's going like this. And I'm like,
Are you gonna go
and
my
he
way?
goes, yeah. And I was like, okay, all right. So yes, also I like Lenny Kravitz. But Grace Jones is also there. Grace Jones, Khalees, and
Man,
Thundercat. And that's when Thundercat was his locks were red.
wow.
But yes, so I like Thundercat. I like Lewis Cole. Like I like your quirky, irreverent, music nerd kind of stuff too. Um, the stuff that makes your brain tingle. You're like, ah. Sade, Love
Oh
Deluxe is my favorite
man.
album. Um, I mean, everything is great, but Love Deluxe is the one since it came out. And it wasn't my album, it was my parents' album. But it became
Man,
mine.
you just like, hey, let me get this album. I'm
Yeah,
taking
you
this.
don't need this. um, let's see. Who else? So many. I like so many acts, so many artists. I've been fortunate to perform with a lot of a lot of bucket list artists, and maybe peripherally work with them. I have shared the stage with for the Dave. I think the last Afro Bowie I was on might have been 2022, I think. And at one point in time, it's Kamasi and I are on stage, and Saul Williams and Georgia Ann Muldrow, and it's like this is
That's
my life right now.
so cool.
Okay, you know.
Man.
So I mean, Erica Badu, I was down for the neo soul movement. I loved Music Soul Child. I loved
Yeah, she's on
him.
point.
Just I liked the way that he and his camp would write because it was so simple, but it was so creative. Like, how do you think of Womanopoly, which is a song about a woman's life, but you're following the game of Monopoly. Like you're talking that she lived on like Park Place and, whatever avenue, but it's just like about this woman's life and the hardship she's had to endure. And
Mm.
now she finally is at whatever, I can't remember, but the best part you could be in Monopoly. Like it's so simple, but it's so creative and you can just envision these things. um, Classical music. Today I had on loop Beethoven Symphony Number 7 in A major.
So cool,
I,
man.
I'm I am all over the place. I like dance music. I'm just kind of everywhere. And something that I have learned is that all of our favorite artists are the same. Just because they happen to be known for a specific genre does not mean that's all they like. I mean, when I was with Elvis Costello, one of the songs that we would walk onto the show with was Victory by what's her name? Oh my gosh, I can't remember. I can't. But it was a gospel song, like a modern black gospel song. It was like got the victory. I got the sweet, sweet victory in Jesus. Yes, I do. He is a mighty conqueror in him. You know that song? I can't think of
Nah,
the
but
lady's
I
name.
like that. Yeah, I dig that, man.
But it's like, the song comes out and it's a doom, 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 doom. And this is Elvis Costello. Like and then when you talk to him, if you say, hey, I heard this song playing, do you know who that's by? He will not only tell you who it's by, he can tell you who influenced them. He
Wow.
can tell you like that he is that dude. Like he's a walking ethnomusicologist for sure. But every single artist that's worth their salt is into everything.
That's the
Everything.
only
I
way to
mean,
be as a
K-pop,
musician. You have to be.
J-rock.
Yep.
I love One OK Rock, which is a J-rock band. I like K-pop because I like, especially I have a couple groups that I like. I really love this group called Shiny, and I really love a group called EXO. And what I love about them is that a lot of their stuff sound like 90s stuff. And one of the songs that I heard, I was like, this sounds like a Teddy Riley kind of song. Teddy Riley produced it. I was like, okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
It's funny. A lot of those guys, like Full Force, is producing a lot of those acts too.
Yep.
Like I know they did like Britney Spears, but I think they've done a few K-pop guys
Yep.
too, right?
Man, that's the thing. They don't, we, first of all, Black people, we are everywhere. I'm going to tell you that. We are everywhere. There's no place we are not. There's no genre we are not. We
That's
are
right.
performing it, we're producing it, we're arranging it. We're everywhere because we like everything.
Yep. And that's
A
what
lot of everything stems from what we created. So
Yep. Oh, yeah, Max was Wasa official,
hi, Max.
and Shine says one OK Rock.
Yeah. Shiny
Man.
and One OK Rock. That's our. We love it. We love it.
That's
So
awesome.
I had my, let's see, the year before last, probably. I think that's when it was. The year before last. My husband, he's a lighting director, lighting director, lighting programmer for shows. So either they buy like a package where he's already pre-programmed it, so it's plug and play, and they take it on the road, or he goes on tour. And one of the coolest tours that he was on, and I got to go to a couple of the shows, it was Muse and One OK Rock.
Wow.
And I was like, you are the coolest man I've ever met in my life right now.
That's amazing, man.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So hopefully that's like a long-winded answer to your question.
No.
I'm all over the place.
That's what I'm looking for. I like listening, and I'm sorry if I get giddy because I get excited. Like I'm like, oh my god, you know, like that's so rad. You know, like with that, you said a few things that it's funny. You kind of touched on some things question-wise that I even had too. One of them, and I'm trying to figure out which one. You know what? I'm gonna just take a shot in the dark and just pick one at a time because I could choose either one from the segue that you just did. Or I'm all getting my words mixed.
It's okay. It's all good. I envisioned that would be me. I was like, I'm gonna say all my words backwards and upside down on this interview. So somebody has to do it.
Into questions. Nah, you're cool. Like I'm digging this a lot. So with that, I have to man. Yeah, I'm gonna just ask this one, and then I have the other one. I'm gonna just say this: the dichotomy of being black and liking rock. I noticed some things that you said as a kid. You know, it's almost like you had to listen to rock and roll in secret. What do you feel goes into that, and I want to unpack that a little bit, and just kind of like what were you thinking at the time, and what do you versus to now? I'm just curious.
I absolutely listened to rock in secret. I had, so the year that Weezer's Blue album came out is the same year that Soul for Real's Candy Rain album came out. And I loved both of them at the same time. And I went to a family reunion, all my black family. I think this was it was in Missouri, I think it was in. No, Kansas City, Kansas area. Or was it Kansas City, Missouri? Anyways, Kansas City. And it was my all-black family. Now, growing up, my parents did not want my brother and I to grow up in the hood. So like my dad was, Compton and Watts, my mom South Central. So they got together, they got kids, and they were like, we probably at this time should leave. And this is like the 80s, kind of time. So it wasn't horrible, but it was, gangs and stuff were having the uptick. And so there was this great migration for a lot of families in LA, black and brown families in LA, to move from LA about an hour and a half northeast to the Inland Empire, which ironically is called the Inland Empire because it was a hub for the Klan at one point. And that's why it's the Empire, my mom, when she was little, they would take drives from LA to the countryside of San Bernardino, and they would see rallies, Klan rallies off the freeway. So that's why it's called, in the Empire, is because of
I did
that.
not know that.
Yeah.
But I do remember brothers and sisters moving out there. It's
Yes. So
crazy.
everybody was moving out there, and then there was like the Great White Flight where they were like, "Oh my God, no!" So they all bounced. Um, Most of them, not everybody, but a lot of white people were like, "Nah, this ain't." Mm-mm. So they bounced out. But I was growing up there during the transition of the black and brown people moving in and the white people moving out. So you can see that you can understand that some white people were not too pleased. And so, anyways, oftentimes I would be in situations where I'm the only one, like in some areas, because all the black and brown people hadn't gotten there all the way yet. So, like when I was in kindergarten, I was one of few. When I was in preschool, I was one of few. My first experience with racism was in preschool. So that's what, 6 years old.
Man.
And it was my brother and I, and we are chocolate and lovely. And we just played with everybody. Like, we were raised to be pro-black and be proud of being black, but it was not pro-black and then, everybody else can go kick rocks and we're better than everybody and da-da-da. It wasn't that. It was just be proud of who you are, love who you are, love your people. And then it's kind of like assumed that everybody else love themselves too. And if you're loving on yourself, you have room to also love other people. So we were never, at least I never picked up pro-black and, exclude everybody else. So anyways, my brother and I are on the playground, and it always was myself, my brother, a little white girl, and then a little biracial girl who was black. And I think her dad was black and her mom was white or something like that. Anyways, we didn't think anything of it. Like, we weren't those I don't see color people. We saw the beauty in the diversity, and we didn't think anything of it. So, like, I know you don't look like me, but that doesn't mean anything. There's no hierarchy or connotation to that. And so the naivety was broken when the little white girl stands up and, goes against the wall. How kids used to make announcements against the wall. And she goes, "Who wants to come to my birthday party?" And so my brother and I didn't respond because we figured we hang out with her all the time. So I know she's talking about everybody else. We assume we're invited. And then she looked at us and she's like, "That's not black." And then we were like, "Huh?"
Wow.
And then the biracial girl goes, "Well, what about me? I'm black." And she goes, "You're not really black."
Wow.
And we're like 5 or 6 years old, like trying to process what is going on, right? So this is where I'm growing up. Where I'm growing up. What kind of probably helped to keep us grounded is that we still had family in Compton and Watts, South Central. So we would always go there, like almost all the time, all the weekends and stuff. So we got balance. So anyways, there would be kids, like black kids, that would tell my brother and I that we think we're white and we're just not acting black enough. And then there would be the white kids that obviously were like, "You're definitely not white, so you can't sit with us." So there was this part of me trying to process the things that I like and being okay with it, but also knowing that I live in a society that I don't fit in with my own people, and I don't fit in with other people,
Wow.
especially white people. And then when I got to second grade, I finally had a best friend, and she's still like one of my best friends. And she's Mexican American, and all her whole family accepted me and everything. That was cool, and we liked all kinds of different things. But I felt like, especially if I'm around other black people, I need to keep stuff that ain't black, to myself. And I didn't even, like, my parents didn't play. They played world music, they played gospel music, they played soul music, R&B, Motown, a lot of jazz. But it wasn't until I got older and started rummaging through my dad's records and cassettes that I saw that he had Eurythmics and Fleetwood Mac, and he never played that. So I didn't even know that it was okay. Like we're listening to straight up Fela and all this kind of stuff. You know, we could listen to like cumbia and like we can listen to world music, ethnic music. We can listen to, you know, Japanese jazz fusion like Hiroshima and that kind of
Love
thing.
that band. My mom and dad had that too.
Oh my gosh, did they have the album Go?
Dude, they had a bunch of them. What's the one? Oh my gosh, once there was a valley. I'm not singing that song right.
Yeah, I
It's been
know what
years
you're
since
talking about though.
man,
Yep.
that sea wind, like all those kind
Oh
of
yeah.
the devil's a liar.
Yep.
Like,
I listened to all, I grew up listening to all of that, but I
yeah,
never heard any black people play any like what was considered white music, which
huh.
as we know, there's no such thing. But I didn't, so so anyway, going back to the family reunion, I had the Blue album, which I absolutely love, Weezer's Blue album, and then Soul for Real's Candy Rain album, which I also loved. And like, Heavy D was a part of it. And like, yeah, right. And so I would be on like in the van with the family. And if people were not paying attention to me, then I'd be like, putting on the Weezer and I'd be looking out the window, just wistfully like, what's with these homies? This is my girl. Like rocking out in my brain, but not physically because they can't see that. And then if someone wants to come sit next to me, I would slowly kind of change the tape to Candy Rain. And they're like, what you listen to? And it would be my you know. So it wasn't until I want to say the first black person, two black people that opened my mind to possibilities that black people can be in a variety of music spaces and it's okay was my uncle Fatty. He wasn't actually fat, they just called him that. He would come to the house and he would visit, and he was a little bit slow, so but he liked hanging out with us, right? Like he was the sweetest dude, coolest dude. He liked hanging out with us, and he put me on to Depeche Mode and Duran Duran, and I was like, oh my god, we can listen to this. So then we would be, in the car, and he would be like, put this on, and we could hear, Duran Duran and Depeche Mode, and I loved it. And he
Duran
helped.
Duran was my first favorite band. Like as
Oh,
I was like probably like maybe 7 years old when I discovered them. This is like in the
oh,
early '80s, and that was like my first band that I was really into.
I saw them for the first time. Was it last year or the year before at Cruel World Festival? And let me
Wow.
tell you, it was like me and my friend Alicia, my friend since we were like 7 years old. And because I was like, you must come to this. This is like super full circle right now. So anyway, Duran Duran's getting ready to come on, and I can't help myself. I'm like literally jumping up and down, jumping up and down. And this man comes over to me. He goes, "Seems like somebody's excited for Duran Duran." And I'm like, "Oh my god!" I was just jumping up, and I was losing my mind. And then I was crying, like I never thought in my life. The closest that I've come to Duran Duran. So during that David Bowie special, there was so the house band, the house singers were me and two other people, and I was doing all of the vocal arranging for all the backgrounds for that. So I'd either hear what the original ones were and then just recreate that or add a little something different. So every performer that wanted backgrounds would have us. And so Duran Duran, and it was like just after COVID. So not everybody flew to LA. So some people were like live from wherever they were or they filmed it. So Duran Duran pre-filmed their performance. Like it was like a music video style performance, but we recorded the background vocals for that performance. So if anybody watched that, that was me and arrangements with that,
That's
which was
amazing.
great. It was
That's
so
so
much.
cool.
It was so cool. So like getting to see them live and how they still sound and look so good, and them songs still slap. Like, uh, oh my god, just yes. So Duran Duran, and then the other person who um made me feel like gave me permission was a friend, a very close friend. They're basically like cousins, right? Because they were my parents' best friends' kids. So we grew up together. It was always me and a bunch of boys, right? So it's me and my brother and then three dudes, three other boys. And we would just be doing skits and plays and dancing around to Fela and King Sunny Ade. And then my friend Sharif, he was the oldest one. Sharif was in a rock band. And like, all I remember is one song. He's probably going to be like, why are you talking about my business? But he had one song about that drink Mondo. That's all I have to say. Anyways, he was the one that he gave me a tape that he had bootlegged. And I was like, what is this? He's like, just listen to it. It was the Crow soundtrack.
Wow. HIM wasn't his Imperial, I'm sorry, HIM a part of that too?
I think HIM might have been on that. HIM might have been on that. I know I was like that whole, my brother was also alternative. So he was the one black kid skateboarding when like TNC surf design was a thing as a little kid, the only black child. And he used to like CKY, which ended up becoming the Jackass Guys. But, you know, they had all those HIM, like the hymn songs. So, you know, Killing Loneliness and all that kind of stuff is the jam. So anyways, so I have the Crow soundtrack. So that's like 9 Inch Nails and stuff and like too many people. But it's just a remarkable album. And I'm like, okay. I have full permission to just be out with the music that I like, you know.
That's so cool.
And so, I mean, I'm that person that's like digging, not like us, super hard, like it's brand new, not gonna lie. I love that song and every video you know, but I'm also that girl that's, you know, I like Kill Switch Engage, like especially when Howard was singing. What are you talking about?
Oh, it's dope.
You know?
There's a guy, he's You Came to Cash show, says this is so cool, and then Chad, oh man, I can't see his name. Chad Ferries.
Oh yes.
I love your singing on Billy Idol's Rebel Yell concert in Ontario.
Thank you.
Ottawa and Ontario, Canada. That's so cool.
Thank you.
Man.
That was awesome. That was the tour that we had last year. I think we went to every single province in Canada.
Man, that's a trip.
How
did you hook up with Billy Idol? I was a fan of his too. Like, and then I got into punk and I got into like his band Generation X as well, which Dancing with Myself originally came from. Mm-hmm. But him and Steve Stevens, man. Steve Stevens is just an amazing guitarist too. His hair always got my attention.
That man, they're all so great. They're all so great, so very sweet, so very kind. I got linked up with Billy Idol through the David Bowie celebration thing. So, you know, I'm sure that you kind of noticed that I'm a gregarious person. I'm a genuine person, though. I'm not like gonna blow fluff because I don't like to waste time and I don't like to be fake.
Nah, you seem real cool to hit my freaking thing up.
But hold on, I gotta plug my phone in real quick because it wants to die.
Yeah, I'm
but anyway,
plug mine in too.
Yeah, let's do,
I gotta plug it.
Pause for the cause real quick. What's going on here? Okay. All right. I think that it is. Is it charging now? Are we charging? Yes, we are charging. Perfect.
Yeah, I'm getting my phone going on.
Yeah. It's like Blair Witch going on, right? All up in the nose. I'm sorry.
My brother liked that, and I'm like, what the heck is they doing, man?
I saw it in the theater, and I was like, are we supposed to feel like we gonna throw up, or was this the aim?
Yeah, I was like, I seen part of it, and I was pissed. I'm like, dude, my brother he thought it was the coolest thing. I'm like, I can't sit through this, man.
It was a lot.
He did
sit through it, but it was like, I don't think I saw it again.
It ain't. I heard they tried to do a part 2
Yeah,
or something like that.
they
Like,
did, which is like the first time was cool because no one ever did anything like that, you know. Um, oh, I happened to see the Glass Spider tour at CNE Grandstand, Toronto, Ontario. That's awesome.
oh, that's rad,
That's so cool.
man. Bowie Glass Spider.
That is so cool.
Man, never saw Bowie. I never seen Duran Duran. I've been into them since I was a kid. I've never seen them live. So I have
They
a
were
lot of people that
here.
I'm
They were
still
in
interested.
town.
Yeah, I'm bummed. I caught the first Cruel World when
Mm,
PIL and Devo and Bauhaus. I've been wanting to see Bauhaus
I
forever, and I
know.
finally got Missing Persons played too. But oh man,
I've been to two Cruel Worlds. The first one I think must have been maybe I went to Cruel World last year. I don't know. I did Cruel World with Billy Idol,
wow,
and it was wild because as soon as we got on stage and as soon as we got off stage and went backstage, they shut the whole concert down because there was a thunderstorm. And
that's
I'm
what I
like,
heard.
I've lived in Southern California, in Los Angeles area, my whole life. We have never shut anything down for nobody's weather for any reason at all. So it was why. I mean, I think Iggy Pop, who I was gonna try to run to see at least half of his set, because he was starting as we were finishing, and I wanted to
Wow.
see Iggy Pop. They shut the sound off, and they were like, "Everyone, please evacuate now." It was insane.
Dang. I heard Susie Sue, like, did she get to play? I know,
She
like,
didn't get to
was it the next day?
play. So a lot of people, they had to wait until I think the following weekend or two
Wow.
weeks later, something like that. So the people that didn't get a chance to finish their sets or people that didn't get a chance to do their sets at all, they honored the tickets for the people that had the original day, and those people could come
Man.
back.
Yeah, I heard about that storm, and I'm like, that's
It
crazy,
was
man.
nuts. It was nuts. And everyone was like, ah! People were like, are they for real? Because I didn't think they were serious because we were on the little tram thing and they're like, okay, everybody, get your stuff. Just get your stuff from backstage and let's go. And I'm like, what? What are you talking about? Like, what? It was
Man.
wild. It was wild. But
Chad
yeah,
Ferry, Chad Ferry says Peter Frampton played for Bowie. I didn't know that.
that's so cool. He played for Bowie at that gig. That's so awesome.
Wow,
That's
that's
so
pretty cool.
awesome. So yeah, okay. I'm remembering. The question was how I got connected
Yeah.
to Billy. Sometimes I can find the thread. Sometimes. Um, yeah, so at the David Bowie celebration thing, I'm just talking to people because I'm curious about humans and generally I like people. And I was talking to one of the men that had to do with like production and stuff. And I didn't know exactly what he did. I just thought he was cool. So I'm just talking to him. Da, 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 da. And he's like, yeah, I work with Steve Stevens. And I'm like, oh, that's really cool. And I didn't think anything of it. I wasn't like, oh, is he looking for a singer? Like I wasn't doing any of that. I'm like, hey, I'm proud of you for doing awesome stuff. That has nothing to do with me. I just think it's cool. And I kept it moving. And then he hit me up and he was like, Billy's doing this really special Hoover Dam gig. And I want to know if you're down to perform. And I was like, oh, me, yeah. And so then it ended up becoming, because we didn't know at first. They just said it was a Las Vegas Hoover Dam show. It ended up becoming a documentary movie
Whoa, that's crazy.
that played in the movies
Man,
at the theaters.
that's crazy,
I mean,
man.
we knew what it was by the time by the time it got to, when we got there and a little bit beforehand, obviously they let us know, okay, you have to sign the paperwork about it being a documentary and not just a show. But yeah, so I am eternally in a Billy Idol documentary movie.
That's rad. You had another situation happen like this too, and I was laughing when I heard that interview. Your first, not first performance, but the performance that you thought was going to be an audition, and it ended up being a real gig.
That was for Natasha Bedingfield. This is like, okay, American Idol was the thing, right, at the time. And that, like, if you're going to be singing, it's American Idol. So I'm thinking that they're like, you gonna come, are you available to come to Vegas? I'm thinking like, you come to Vegas to audition and then they'll see. Like, I didn't know how the mess worked. Like, I always was on the outskirts of the industry. And when I was in the industry, I wasn't singing. I was like the person who guides celebrities down the red carpet, or I'm working with the publicity team and making calls, or I'm in the green room doing something, making sure that they have their snacks, or like, I was always kind of the peripheral girl who would sing happy birthday to people if it was their birthday. Like, I was not in it. I was always around it. I had internships and jobs, and I think that's probably what got me so comfortable being around a lot of celebrities before I actually started to work with them directly, because I was doing all these award shows and all these different press gigs and press events with all of the top celebrities. Like, I met Bernie Mac and P. Diddy, um, and let's see, and Will Smith and Jada and Beyonce, like all of these people, you know. I'm like, my first internship that I got was because I was the talent handler for Kathy Griffin,
Wow.
and she and I were talking and we hit it off, and then I hit it off with her publicist. And at the time, I had just finished studying, or I was still studying at Cal State Fullerton public relations. And so I was just casually talking and said, yeah, I'm studying public relations. She goes, oh my God, I love you. And then I got my first internship was at the highest at the time entertainment PR firm. Like, they had Jamie Foxx, they had The Rock, they had Britney Spears. Like, that was my first internship.
That's amazing. And you
You
didn't
know,
think about being a performer at all during that time? Especially
I
having a musical
I
background anyway.
know. I felt like, because I wasn't around anybody else that professionally sang. Like, I have an uncle and he professionally sang in Germany, but like, he was a blues singer in Germany, and then he started a gospel choir in Germany with a whole bunch of German people, and they were singing the
Wow.
gospel choirs, that the gospel songs that he grew up with in Compton and Watts. Um, but I didn't really see him because he was in Germany, so I didn't really know anything about it. So it took a long. I mean, even it took probably a few years after my first tour to start to consider myself an actual musician. Like, I felt like you needed to be knighted by someone, or you needed to be a Jackson to say that you're a musician. I didn't really know, because my parents went into, and the rest of my family mostly went into traditional fields of teaching or law enforcement or being a nurse and that kind of thing, being an accountant, being in the military and having a job in the military. So I was always around it, and I was always curious about it. And when I was a small child, I used to think, if I sing out the window, maybe a producer will hear me, and then they're like, I'm going to write songs for Janet Jackson or In Vogue. I didn't know how any of that worked. I didn't know if any of that was even legit or real. It was just little kid dreams that I didn't know how to make a thing. So I was like, the closest I can be is be in PR and be in entertainment and be the girl that's, the errand girl with the clipboard. I remember I met Pitbull before he became super big. And my job as the talent escort was to take him up the red carpet and then tell, while he's interviewing with one press outlet. Like, you see those press junkets and you see them talking to Entertainment Tonight. What you don't know is, before that interview, somebody like me goes up to that press outlet and says, I have Pitbull. Do you want to talk to him? And then they'll say yes or no. And then you move on to the next one. And then he sees where you're going and you tell him, come down here. So he might have to pass several press outlets before somebody actually, films him. They don't show you that. You'll see that girl or guy in the background that looks kind of like, okay, that was me. That was Amy. So anyway, I'm taking him down the red carpet, and most people didn't know who he was, so most people didn't really feel the need to interview him. And so when we got to the end of the red carpet, because then I had to go to whoever the next celebrity was, I had to take down the red carpet. I was like, well, so great meeting you, and good luck with everything. And he turns around and he goes, luck? Girl, I don't need luck. And he walks off the carpet, and I was like, who is this man? And then a couple months later, people, the biggest thing ever.
That's so funny. It's like, dude, he didn't have to say all that.
But
Like, that's funny.
you know you heard it in his voice, though, didn't you? You know you
Yeah,
heard it in his voice.
he didn't have to say all
So that's
that.
what he said. I mean, he was very, I give him props that he was very confident. He wasn't mean to me, but he also was, it was kind of like what I got from that was, so when I was a kid, I used to run track. And I did not like when people would say good luck or break a leg, because now that's putting doubt in my mind. You're telling me that maybe I can't win this? What are you talking about?
I
I've
hear
been
you.
training this whole time to win. Now you're telling me to break a leg, like maybe I can't do this?
Mm,
So I kind of took it like that. Like at first I was like, well, who is this guy? But also I thought, this is me. That was me saying break a leg to him,
I
if
hear
that
you
makes
on
sense.
that, man. But it's still a trip though. Like, you're destined to do what you're doing now. Like and I'm just gonna say this just from my own personal opinion. The Most High had it. Knew that you should be, out there doing what you're gifted with. Not to say that you're not gifted in the other fields, but something that you seem, from the live things that I've seen of you, from like what, like even talking to you, you seem to enjoy it a
I
lot, and
do.
it's so cool.
I do.
Like,
And I know everybody doesn't get a chance to do, like, to actually experience their dreams. Like maybe they might get a chance to get a whiff of it, but some don't. And so I'm very aware of that blessing. And I don't think that that means that I'm better than anybody. It just means that I have a different path than some. And it also doesn't mean that it's easy. Just because this keeps happening and just because this is my plan A, B, and C does not mean it's easy. Because, like you saw, like I've said, I've tried to do a lot of other different things, and I still end up here all the time. I was trying to go into face painting. A friend of mine was like, look, I do face painting on the side. Why don't you do that? She was like, do you want to come to Camp Mars? And Camp Mars was 30 Seconds to Mars adult weekend camp. I know that sounds weird, but
what?
if you're a big super fan, then yeah, I don't know if they still do it, but they were having like, it was called Camp Mars. So all these adults go there and they do activities, and the whole band comes out at some point in time. Jared's walking around, or that's his name, right? Yeah, Jared's walking around with like onesie pajamas, like, hey guys, you know.
That's comedy.
And so I was like, sure, I'll do face painting. Another thing about me is I'll say yes to some things that seem cool, even if I've never done it before. Yeah, man. And I'm like, what the heck am I doing? So I was like, sure, I've painted before. You tell me what I need to bring, I'll bring it. So we made a little, like, different things that people can choose from to get painted on their face. And as I'm in the middle of painting people's faces, I get a call from this man that I met, and that's a whole other story. I don't know how much time you have, but a man that I met through ultimately answering a Craigslist gig, who happened to come from the IE as well. And so we connected on that. And then he was like, hey, when you have a chance, call me back. So I called him back in between painting faces at a 30 Seconds to Mars concert camp thing. And his name is Tommy Farragher. And Tommy's like, my brother Davey is going to call you. He's the bassist for Elvis Costello. I put your name in the hat. Please answer the phone when he calls.
That's
And
awesome.
that's how I ended up. So it's like every time I try to veer off and do other things, I always come back. I mean, I've had so many thousands of lives, and I still end up back here, you know. And
It's
so I
beautiful.
am,
It's
yeah,
awesome though. Like, it's
yeah,
so cool because it's like there's some Bible, I forget, some Bible parable about the talents and stuff. You're just sowing all those talents, and then the fact that you're doing what you're doing, it's still hard work no matter what. Like, and it's so cool. I love seeing, especially like musicians of our hue. I'll just say that, enjoy that,
yeah,
because a lot of our brothers and sisters that paved the way for us doing this music, they have had hard times. So it's always like, I'm happy looking at what you're doing, and I'm so glad that you not only have had the opportunity, but you still getting opportunities to do what you're
Yeah.
doing.
It's
You know, it's awesome.
It's awesome. It's awesome. And the thing that I like is that I'm getting these opportunities where people are like, I like you. I like you as a person. Like, I haven't really had gigs where I had to be somebody else.
Mm,
Like the closest that I've come was like Engelbert Humperdinck, but it was really like, he was like a Vegas guy
yeah,
and, kind of wanted the showgirl thing. So that was new to me because I was always wearing pants, baggy ones at that, sometimes tight. So to go from that to like tassel-y tops with sparkles and it's, I'm like, what? I don't know about this. So, but I remember like my hair used to always be in braids because that was respectable hair politics, right? You have a wig or braids at that time. And so I was like, I need to cut my hair. I don't. So my hair was like not this short at all, but it was short. It was short, and I didn't want Engelbert to see it because I was like, this is not respectability hair. So I would wear this big like Diana Ross like Afro wig. So one day he came back. He was backstage and he saw me kikiing with the other girls, in the band, and I didn't have the wig on and I had my hair short and it kind of had like a little bit of the wavy, wave kind of thing, finger wave kind of doing it. And he was like, oh, you look like a movie star. Do your hair like that. And I'm like, oh,
that's awesome.
okay. And then like pretty much ever since then, like people have, when they want me, they want me. They don't say this is what you need to wear. They don't say we want this vibe. Like sometimes I'll be like, well, what do you want me to wear? And they're like, whatever you wear. So like, with Elvis Costello, I've got faux locks that are neon pink and blue and magenta and all this kind of stuff. I've got sparkly tops and, golden leotard onesies just because that's what I want to wear, and with Billy Idol, I get to be, I don't get to be, but I'm more rocker. So, I got more like S&M kind of, BDSM stuff going on because I think that looks awesome. I love it. I'm getting a chance to live out like my little girl rock star dreams, but it's like, they're like, we want you. What you bring to the table is what it is we want. Now, I think something that's also allowed me to be in the industry for as long as I have is that I recognize that unless my name is on the marquee, it is not my show. So if the artist is like, hey, we want you to wear all black, I'll wear all black. But if the artist says wear what you want, I'm about to wear what I want. You know.
Yeah, that's totally respect too. Like that's Mac, and I think that's so cool, man. Like just the fact that like you're a rocker anyway, like, and this even comes up. What's up, Libret? Oh man, my homegirl Libret Wonderlust is on here. She's an amazing poet and also an author. Check her out. She's a so glad that you came out, Libret. Haven't seen you in a few weeks at Homeland, but we're in a different area. Where I work, they do African dance, and I have a music program that I host there, and that's
Oh,
where I usually see
fantastic.
her. But I've known her for a long time, even before that. But it's amazing the fact that like I'm gonna say this, like you're a rocker anyways, but the thing is, people have their preconceived idea of what that is, and with that, it's kind of a trip because like we're talking about the dichotomy of like you thinking that you had to kind of hide away to listen to this, and then your was it your uncle or your cousin?
Both
Both,
uncle
both of
and
them, like
then also my cousin.
your,
Yeah.
your brother too. What band was your cousin in? I'm curious.
I don't remember what that band was. I do not remember at all. I don't remember. It was an indie band. I can't he could tell you. He could tell you. I don't remember. No
Man,
idea. I know my brother was also very much like he was very much that dude that's like what I like is what I like. And I always was, I would be inspired by that because he was one of the few black people that I don't think he thought anything of it, but I always thought like, dang, he's a younger brother. But I always thought like, man, he don't even care. Like he would get in trouble all the time because he would just be like, I'm about to bust out this Wu-Tang. I'm not going to censor none of this stuff. Like for me, if I had like Jodeci or Color Me Bad, you know how they would have their sexy songs. What I would do, I would listen to the whole album first, so I knew which songs that I could play around my parents, and I would only play those songs so much that they thought that that was the whole album, so that no one
Wow.
was bothering me about my music. My brother, he get his tapes taken away.
Playing
You know,
46 Chambers of Death, kid.
absolutely, absolutely.
That's a brutal album too. Like some of the stuff that they mopping people on the freaking like every track.
For real.
Man,
Yeah.
man.
So,
But with that, I was gonna say like you're not cosplaying nothing. You actually are, and this is what I like about even some of the like we talk about Bowie, we talk about like so many artists that the 70s, especially the 70s, when you think of people like Sly Stone, Bowie, Stevie Wonder,
yeah.
like and even Donna Summer, they weren't just beholden to one genre. They might have been known as rock or disco or soul, but they all kind of did the same. They like what you said earlier. You said this. Like they were multifaceted, and that's the thing that I see with you, and it's so cool to see that with different artists. Like for me, as a musician myself, I'm experimental and eclectic, so I relate to that. The thing also that's a trip that it's just so many people, they kind of like put everything on a genre, but they don't realize that there's so many different things that made that genre.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You
So I two things that are part of one. But so a friend of mine posted on Threads and he was like, is R&B, like, is it okay enough to say that something is R&B genre? And I was like, not really. Like, because it kind of doesn't respect all the sub-genres that they've never named, but they exist. So I have a god sister, and we will be on the phone till kingdom come for real, just talking and singing. So for whatever, she wasn't having a great day, I wasn't having a great day, and so I said, hey, let's look at the charting hits, like the top 100 hits of R&B from 95 or 94. So we started going down, and as we're going down, we're singing a little bit of like almost every hit, like, oh yeah, and we did it all the way to 2004.
What?
That's how long we were on the same phone. But what we noticed was 95 through 94 through probably 2000, but mostly like 95 through 98, there were so many sub genres of R&B that didn't have other classifications. It was just like there were more sub genres of R&B than there are now.
Wow. I
Which is
remember
wild.
Hard Edge R&B with Cisco and all. Then that's the first time I ever heard that.
There
Like
was
Hard
so
Edge
much
R&B.
stuff. Well, think about this. You had Whitney Houston. This is before 94. Whitney Houston, Queen of the Night, In Vogue, Free Your Mind.
Yep.
That was considered R&B, but that was rock. In
Rock.
fact, Janet
That's rock.
Jackson, Black Cat.
Yep.
Those are when I was a kid, those were other three songs that made me say I can be a black woman and be about this rock life. I can be singing soulfully, but I can also, you know what I mean? In the modern day, you know. And that was a subgenre. They were never going to say that was rock. They were never going to win awards for that being rock at that time.
This is the thing. It's funny you bring this up, and I have a few different things, and it's funny because I have that other question too. I'm gonna get to that, but this is the thing. When it comes to black people doing that in the quote unquote mainstream, like they tried to do it to Lenny Kravitz, and he said no. They tried to do it to Prince. They said no. Body Count, Ice-T's Body Count. They still call it hip hop. No, he's rapping, but that's a heavy metal album.
Heavy metal, man.
Yeah, it's just like they always want to typecast us, and
always. Well, something that I used to hate, especially in the early 2000s, people were like, because I think in the early 2000s, well, maybe the mid 2000s is when I I didn't even record anything. I just would hit the streets and be doing full on shows of songs that I had written. My husband, well, he's my husband now, but he wasn't at the time. But, you know, I had enough songs to do an album. I still can do those songs if I want to. But it was like, I hated when I said I had a show. And then people were like, well, what kind of music is that? And then if I say rock, they don't envision that it's actually rock. They envision something that was this weird watered down thing that was kind of like soul, but it just, maybe there was a guitar in it and I didn't understand what rock was, right? And
I know what you're talking about.
you know what I mean? And then they would be like, she's this R&B girl. And so there was this major R&B artist whose name shall remain unnamed. Shall not remain, you know.
No, I understand.
But I knew this
I understand.
person personally. And, you know, my husband was like, oh, you got to come to our show. You got to see her. She's great. She's rock. Da, 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 da. And he was kind of like, okay. And like, I'd come to the studio and I'm singing R&B with him because that's his genre. That's the songs. Like, if you want me to sing on your country album, I'm going to sing appropriate to your album.
Yeah.
You know, I will sing appropriate to whatever. So that doesn't mean that I can only do that one thing. If you want me to sing R&B jazz, I will do R&B. I will do jazz. If you want me to sing Latin stuff, I will do that. However, when I say that what I'm doing is rock, you know, this is around the time that like Not Worth Saying and stuff came out, before Not Worth Saying, you know, and that's a rock song. So anyways, he finally came to a show and he was like, oh my God, you weren't kidding. Wow, wow. You know, so then I realized after that, as a Black woman, especially at that time, you can't tell people what you do. You just have to, like, so I was always, I mean, you can if you want to. But for me, I was always like, I am a shower. I'm not going to talk about myself. I'm not going to build myself all up. Come to the show, you will see. And a lot of people started to see after they came to a show. Wow. But it was really annoying because they assumed because I was Black, no matter, even if they hadn't heard my voice, they assumed because I was a Black woman that it's gonna be really like super R&B-ish or maybe pop-ish or maybe neo soul. And I just, because somebody is playing a guitar of any type, that it is rock, you know.
Which is sad because there's a lot of phenomenal Black women. As a matter of fact, who I call our rock and roll, you know, mothers, Rosetta Tharpe and even Memphis Minnie, going back to 1929.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yep. They started that. Like, they were a part of a community that started that. I mean, we could talk about, you mentioned Big Mama Thornton as well.
Yep.
I mean, there's a lot. Even Mabel King. A lot of people know her for her being on What's Happening, which I love that show, and like The Wiz. But she was recorded one of the earlier rock and roll albums, and her voice was amazing.
Well, and people are feeling weird about Brittany Howard doing heavy stuff. Like, the thing that's wild is like, okay, you have Chris Cornell, and he's got Soundgarden, he's got Audio Slave, but then when you hear his own stuff, his solo stuff, not nearly as hard. And then he goes off and he does Billie Jean.
Wow, I never heard. I gotta hear that.
Yeah. He has a version of Billie Jean's acoustic, and it's great. But it's okay for him. I love Chris Cornell. No shade, no tea. Like, Chris Cornell is the only celebrity that I met, and I didn't know how tall he was and how majestic he was. And then I was like, oh. So there's a picture of me looking just insane. I cried for so long over him. But one of his vocal inspirations, and once I tell you this, now when you go back and listen to like Euphoria Morning especially, one of his vocal influences is Ray Charles. Go back and listen to his voice.
I can totally hear that. I mean, he has that kind of that kind of vibe, even with like the bands that he sang with. Yeah. Shouts to Culture Rock Griot. You got to follow her. She does like what I'm doing, but like it's on a whole different level. Like, you got to check her out. And she's also, that's Samantha Hollins. She does music too, and she's amazing, man.
Awesome. Yes.
Man. But yeah, Chris Cornell, I could totally imagine it, because it's like the thing that people don't, and this is going to get into even something that you mentioned earlier, people don't understand. Like, rock R&B, rock and R&B are one in one. And at one point, R&B was the heavy
Yeah,
thing. You know,
rhythm and blues.
rhythm and blues. It was a lot more heavier, a lot more aggressive than regular blues because it had that gospel feel. Now
Yep.
we're gonna touch on two different things with that too.
Now listen.
You know what I'm going with.
Now listen. Okay, you go.
Got my hat.
Your hat fell off. We can be twins. It's okay.
Mine's won't grow though. I look like a Nubian shell Silverstein.
Oh,
but like,
my, not a Nubian.
You know what? We all thought he was black though, anyway,
I
because
sure
the back cover. But then,
somebody did a thread. I think a few years back, somebody did a thread on white or non-black people that black people thought forever was black. And he was one of them. This whole time.
I'm sorry. Say that again.
Whole time. For real. First of all, I never looked because I never looked. But so I was watching Cobra Kai, which became a labor of love because it just starts to kind of go off the rails. But Elizabeth Berkley from Saved by the Bell is one of the guests. And I was like, okay, let me Google, see if this girl is black. Because my whole life, I thought she was biracial. They're like, she is not black. She's a Jewish lady.
For that, too.
I thought she was black until last week.
I got another one for you. Phoebe Snow.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry. She totally looks like she could pass for we
need to put them on Finding Your Roots.
For real.
That's what we need to do.
Neil Sean from Journey is another one.
Yes. I'm trying to think of who else that I was like, what? How about this? This is not even about what they look like. This was just how they sounded. And this is embarrassing, but I don't care. And I've told this story before. When I was a kid, I thought Hall and Oates was one black man named Holland Oates. Just one.
It sounds like a blues, like Howlin' Wolf.
Yeah,
I
thought it was. I probably because I heard of Howlin' Wolf or whatever, and so I'm thinking, Holland Oates. That's a black man, and in my mind, he looked like the what's his name? I've been stroking. That's what I've been doing.
I know what you're talking about. How could I? It's Clarence. How could I forget that dude?
Oh, what?
Clarence something. You know it, Samantha. You got to know this. Clarence. Oh, that song had me rolling when I first heard that. I'm not gonna lie. I was laughing so hard.
Yeah, I thought it was one black man, and I did find a friend that we became friends in junior high, and we're still friends today. But he and I found out as adults that we both thought it was Holland Oates. That was one black man.
That's so funny. One brother. I'm just thinking of the voice, but that's funny because it sounds like a Dr. John or Holland Wolf or Screaming Jay Hawkins.
Oh, you know who else I thought was black just by the voice, and I didn't know until a few years before he died. You know who I'm talking about.
Bobby Caldwell? Yeah.
Yes.
I thought that too. We all thought it.
A grown adult.
I was like, what? That tripped me out, man. Like, wait, the guy on School of Rock, who's the dude that used to sing like, I'm just a bill here on Capitol Hill?
Oh, yes, I know what you're talking about, but I cannot think of his name.
Yeah, but he's another one.
Oh, you know who else was another one? Who else was another one? That, and first of all, I thought it was a lady, but it's the man who sings theme songs from like the late 80s, early 90s shows. So like he sang on like the Full House theme song. I think it's Full House. Like, whatever happened to predictability? The milkman, the paperboy, the evening TV. Don't you remember that? I thought it was a black lady, just with a husky voice. It's a white, regular-looking white guy, just normal.
Crazy. I would have never guessed that. That's so funny, man. What about the different the different strokes theme song was Alan Thicke?
Yeah.
I thought,
see, the apple didn't fall too far from the tree.
Yeah.
Robin out here. But I was like,
Man,
what? That was what? Alan, he always did kind of low key have a little bit of swag
yeah,
though on
yeah.
the
And
show.
his son looked just like him.
I was like, your swag is different, but I can't put my finger on it.
That stuff is comedy, man.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's funny though. Yeah, the there's a few others that come to mind. The guy that played the violin for the Who, what's the name of that album?
With
Something Bubba O'Reilly. The violinist, he looks like, I'm like, wait.
yes,
And I was I was trying to put it out. Like, I think I even asked it on one of the group pages that I have. Like, is that guy, like, is this guy,
yeah.
is
And
he
they're like,
us?
no, that is wild to me. But that also proves, like, dang, we come in every shape and size. Because if I can look at you and see me, not me personally, but my people,
No, I understand what
it's
you
like
mean.
it doesn't seem weird to me because, well, also, like, I don't know about your family, but I got family friends that's about as light as my palm, that's unnaturally light, and they got freckles all over the place, and they are my
Yeah,
cousins, not super distant, far away cousin, like my first cousin, and his brother looks closer to me. That, you know
yeah.
what I mean? So when they would be like, we all went to the same church, and the girls thought both of them were cute, and they were trying to figure out how come I'm always trying to steal their men. They also didn't know that they were brothers, you know. So I'm like used to that. Like, I have a cousin that looks like Maria Menounos, who is a
That's
Greek
comedy,
woman.
man.
And I remember I was at an event and I said, Maria, I know this is gonna be weird, but I have a cousin that looks exactly like you. She didn't feel very comfortable that I told her that. Like, she was kind of like, this is so dang weird. But like, I have a cousin that looked just like her,
People
you
don't
know?
know.
So for us to be like, I see this person and we think they could be black, it doesn't seem weird because
No.
we got family that look just like them.
I have a friend who's the drummer. He's like, he's like an Ashkenazi Jewish cat. Like, same curly hair. I'm like, man, you look like my Uncle Nene. Like, I told him that.
I
Same
know. Like,
color.
it's so, and it's not even like we're not trying to have jokes or trying to be cool or trying to relate. It's like I'm telling you what I literally know, like what I feel, what I've
Exactly.
seen, what I've experienced, what my family looks like, you know?
Yeah. Because I
It's
mean, we got all the spectrum too. I mean, my color even darker, and then like way lighter.
yep.
So it's like that's the thing
And
about
the
us. It's kind of a trip.
hair textures be different too.
Yep.
You know, my hair, you know, I mean, it hasn't been loose natural in a long time, but when it was loose natural, I couldn't really do a fro. Like, it was hard to do a fro because my hair would be coils here, and then it just kind of
And
gets a
stop
little
on the
wavy-ish.
top.
So then it's like in like sideshow Bob, and I hated it. I
Yeah.
could not make a fro for nothing. And then like I would get my hair pressed because then I was like, oh, you know, when I think I first started getting my hair pressed going into the summer of junior high, because the boys seem to like when my hair was pressed now. So, ooh, let me go ahead and get my hair pressed. So I never got a perm, thankfully, but I would get pressed. And it doesn't take that much. Like, you blow dry my hair, it's already starting to get straight, right? And then you press it now. So then what I would do is I'm in like junior high school. It'd be hot. It's Southern California. It's the Inland Empire.
Oh yeah.
So my
Especially
hair
out
would
there.
be, I would have my hair in a ponytail. So it would be wavy, 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 ponytail straight hanging down. And they're like, you got them fake ponytails on. Like, that's literally my hair.
They don't understand that our hair is in different textures. Like me and my cousin were talking about how now he's stuck with the locks. I just said forget it. Me and him kind of have the same kind of hair. It took his hair like probably 2 years to really lock up. Mine's I just was like, you know what, dude? Like I'm just because I have like my hair's like yours. Like it's you comb it out, but then at the same time it gets in the wind. It's a
Mm-hmm.
mess. I can't explain how that is. No, it's not like
It doesn't make any sense.
it's different.
I was like, all
Like but it's
the
funny because
ancestors from all the different ethnicities is just coming through.
that's funny.
They're like,
But
what
I
about
was pissed because I'm
me?
like, my stuff wouldn't lock right away, and then my cousin's like, yeah, it kept
Yeah.
coming out, and he's like, he had to go get his like manicured locks. I'm like, I ain't doing
Yeah,
that,
I
man. Like,
had to get mine, the double strand twist, and I still had to wait for a long time
man,
because I still could have just combed them out with my fingers. They were not trying
man.
to lock for nothing.
I miss my, I mean, I'm bald now, but I miss my fro. I miss my natural, you know, like I would have it braided. Sometimes I would spike it. I do, man, I had I was a dude, especially on the whole punk rock thing. I would always have my hair different. So man,
Uh,
that's the, oh, Ron Shana. Oh man, I'm messing everybody's name. Ronesh Shanash says hello or
hello.
hi. I like that name, even though yeah. Ronesh Shan. Oh, I'm not gonna mess her name up. I'm sorry,
Hello.
man. But no, I hear what you're saying about the hair thing, man. I have to send you a picture. My driver's license in 1993, dude. I have my natural combed out, but I just gotten it out of braids, so it did the same
Hello.
sideshow Bob thing, and I'm
Cycles
like,
all crippy. Yeah.
I was mad. I'm like, dude,
Yeah.
give me my silver
It
Michael
was
Jackson
not
thing, man.
for nothing. Even if you wet it and let it just dry and then comb it out, it's still gonna go fleep.
Yeah, I'm like, what the heck, man? I'm trying to like bust it out like the homeboy from. Well, actually, one of the guys from that movie, The Warriors, kind of had the same thing going. Like the parted in the middle is like a parted fro.
That's what, man. There's videos of me and like it's just floppy. It's not doing anything.
That stuff is comedy, man. Black hair is a trip,
It
man.
really
I
is.
didn't understand the whole 4C, 3C thing. I think that's kind of new. I'm
That is
probably just hip to it in the
new.
last
That
year.
is new. Because I still don't know what I'm supposed to be because I don't think I fall into any of them.
I don't even know, man. I just, but shouts to those cats that could get them locks, man.
Yeah.
Because I was like, forget this. Like at one point, the bang started kind of doing. I'm like, forget this,
Not
man.
the
Let me just like
bang. Not the bang.
the bang.
Not the bang.
I had a fro with a bayang and a shag.
Well, there you go. That's Black history for you because he's
What a one.
representing all of the styles for us today.
Looking like a wannabe Ohio player, homeboy like Sugarfoot, like
Fire.
dude.
It's okay. It
Yeah,
looked cool when you was rocking out.
oh yeah, definitely, man. I wore that with pride, man. You know, like
Mhm.
I was trying to be cool. But here's the question that wanted to ask you, especially when we're talking about these genres. And you brought up one thing that was interesting with when it comes to gospel, R&B, rock, and metal. There is, and I'm gonna say this. And I want to talk about this, but I want to say this because I've thought about this more than so many times. There is a common thread, and I told this. I did an interview with P. Michael from Ono, and we talked about this a little bit, that there's a thread between gospel and metal and any other kind of extreme forms of rock and roll you cannot get rid of when it comes to that black gospel, jazz, and blues. And that gospel is what even hyped up what made R&B,
Yeah.
which made what they call hot jazz and ended up being rock and roll, which, it had to be heavier, and that voice was a real thing. That what
Yep.
you were saying, they were really giving it. You can
Mm-hmm.
hear that even in like earlier metal and even death metal when somebody's like, they're really giving it. Keep
Yeah.
in mind also, a lot of white society thought our church music was devil, like demonic, because of the way that we
Mm-hmm.
did our things.
Yep.
So it's almost like, we've always been like an innovator, and there is a common thread, like when it comes to these forms of music. I'm just kind of giving my opinion about that. I'm curious what you think about what I said.
Yeah. I absolutely 100% agree. There is a passion, there's a fire, there's something that's there that's definitely in gospel music, especially some of the older gospel
Yep,
music. I mean, rap came from gospel music,
that's right.
you know. Crip walking came from gospel
Man.
music, but yeah, I mean, just you can't like heavy metal, serious rock, and then when you go to gospel, when you go to especially like a down home church,
Yep.
Baptist, or maybe Pentecostal, and Kojic, and they're giving it. It's not like Jesus is great,
Nope.
yeah, oh yeah. Because I remember the first time I went to a white church, and I don't mean like chapel time at my white private school that I went to from whatever kindergarten to first grade, but I meant like going to visit a white French church, and I was like, how does everybody know these songs? So they were just like, Jesus is awesome, Jesus is great, da, 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 da. And I'm like, no one feels anything. And where I come from, people are falling out on the floor, people
Yep.
are running through, people are like, there is no like, Jesus, yeah, Jesus great. And that's fine if that's what you like. No shade, no tea, because there's room for everybody, you know? That's
Yeah.
what genres and subgenres are for. But gospel, like rock, especially metal rock, has serious, serious roots in, for sure, pure gospel. Like the tents, you know, the
Yep.
churches with the tents that would pop up, you know, the
Oh yeah.
revivalist kind of, you know, all of that, you know. And then when there's rock that's not as hard, what do they always bring in to lift it up? Choir, gospel choir, Bon Jovi, gospel choir, uh, Journey, or what's his name? Maybe not just, I mean, what's that one song? I want to know what love
Oh, Foreigner.
is. Yeah,
Foreigner.
Foreigner, choir. In fact, I did sing in a choir with the lead singer of Foreigner with that
That's heavy,
song.
man. Wow.
Yeah, and so my brain is like crapping out on people's names. I'm so sorry,
No,
but
it's cool. I'm
you know,
bad too.
we bring in choirs, you know, gospel sounding choirs, gospel inspired choirs, you know. It's a real thing. It elevates the music in a way that can't be tapped in any other kind of way. And even if you don't believe in God, you feel
You
it.
still feel it.
You feel it. That's why these songs end up becoming big hits, because we feel it.
It's funny you say that. And before I'll say this, I'm gonna say, Vuko Skill Jeb says calls you Bella, and she says hello Bella, and I gotta give a
Hello.
shout to the homies, Frank Biong, Rosinda Moore. Frank Biong's an amazing musician, by the way. David Branscombe, aka David from Davis, David Branscombe. I'm sorry, brother. He's an amazing musician, and I've interviewed both of these cats. They're just awesome people that you got to check out. Really great musicians, man. Um, Glad to see you guys, and Rosinda is like my Afro punk sister, Afro punk OGs. Give them a shout out. um,
Hey.
but yeah, dude, like that's the thing. I remember being in, like, I mean, I go to an Ethiopian Orthodox church right now, but still, out of all the Orthodox church, cats be getting it. The
Oh yeah.
drums, the BHORR, all that. But being a Black American, foundational or original Black American, I grew up like in different kinds of churches. Like if it wasn't the Kojic type stuff, my parents we had like kind of I guess you could say it's a multi-ethnic church, kind of a hippie-ish type thing, but a lot of them were inspired by a lot of that gospel stuff too. But thinking about like the gospel churches, I tell people that's my first freaking punk show, dude, because I think this guy named, what was his name? Rodney DeCure, he's a pastor.
Mm.
That brother, his voice, dude, he was screaming so loud the mic was buzzing, and you hear that rancid organ. That sounds like a distorted
Yes,
guitar, and that fat dude,
yes, yes, yes,
like,
yes. Do, 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 do,
and
do, do,
Kathy
do, do,
Martin
do, do, do,
practically,
do. Yes.
and
Yeah,
the
I
women
think
be having the fan knocking you over, you know.
one of my one of my pastors for sure growing up, he would be like, but Jesus,
Yeah,
but Jesus, yeah, you know. I mean, and it would be like, whoo, like honestly, for me, I'm not super religious. I believe that God exists. I believe that there is a God. I believe that there is some beauty in pretty much all of the religions, if you take a moment to be like, oh, okay, this is the intention of this. I get that. I feel that. I've always been like that as a kid. But what I will say is that my first introduction to actually feeling God was through the music. Through the music at church. So the pastor could go on and on and on and on. And he could say some stuff that's like, oh, I feel that. I understand. But the music hits you a certain kind of way. Like,
yep,
I have two gospel albums I really, really like that are not, they're not really, they're modern, but they're not because they're from the early 2000s. But the one that I was like, whoa, is Kirk Franklin's Hero album. Oh, like there is a spirit going through it. No matter what you think about him, there is something moving through every single person that's on that record. You feel it. I
Yeah.
have played that song for the most, I have played that album for the most atheist of atheist people and the most Jesus-y of Jesus-y people, and get the same reaction because you feel it. Because for me, God is not just the singular person that the picture with the, it's not that. God is this energy of love, this energy of, it just moves you. And so you can call it whatever you want, and you can say that you don't believe in it, but you felt it. You just don't want to give it a name, or you don't know what's name, or whatever. But like I remember around the time Hero came out, I was just like, whoa, goodness. And my cousin was deployed to like Iraq or something like that, like when one of the more recent wars, recent meaning early 2000s wars, had come out. And I was like, I was so scared for him, because I was hearing on the news about, children's heads getting decapitated, and then they would just put them up around the army
Oh
base
God,
and
no.
everything, right? And I was like, oh my cousin is there. So I said, look, I don't know how you think about this, I don't know how you feel about this, but I really love this album, Hero by Kirk Franklin. Do you know that he played it once, and every single person in his squad, that was the album that helped them get through, one of the albums,
Wow.
but one of the main albums that helped them get through that time, you know. But
Heavy,
it's like there's
man.
something that is running through that you don't have to, you can just listen to it objectively for it just to be music, you know what I mean? But there's some that you feel like, I've said this too before, like, I went performing with Elvis Costello, and we're doing What's So Funny About Peace, Love, and Understanding. There's something that's running through that song. There's something that's running through the live performance of it. It feels like you're just bringing something down. Like there were times, and I've said this before on like other interviews, but there are times where maybe I'm feeling it. My eyes are closed, but my hands are like this. And it's like, I'm not trying to, but it's like something is coming from me to people, and you can feel it. And this is interesting because I'm coming from the perspective of oftentimes being one of two Black people in the building, and the other Black person would be the singer, or maybe one of three, and that person's right there in the audience, and we're connecting like, oh, I'm Black, you're Black, this is amazing, we're both enjoying this is great. But there's something that, and everybody's feeling it, like it's that song. I mean, the words too, you got to think about the words. What's so funny about peace, love, and understanding, like and he would have images in the back that would show like maybe his ancestors that were in the wars and all this kind of stuff, but it would be about just stop the war, stop these wars, stop all of this. Why can't we just love each other? All that kind of stuff. But we're feeling it, and there's just this alchemy, there's just this synergy, and you can call it whatever you want. But I call, on occasion, I'll call it God, because it's something that I can't define, I can't explain, but it is so very powerful. And I feel that with music, and I've always felt that with music. I didn't know that everybody doesn't get goosebumps with music. Not everybody
Man.
did. I thought everybody went to sleep with orchestras in their head. I thought everybody's crying to God gave rock and roll to you. Like, I know. you know,
Man.
there's a force.
That's the thing though, like music, that's what I like about it. I feel like it's the door that the Most High uses, one of many, to himself when it comes to like just the things of when I'm looking at creativity, music is definitely the thing, because it's something that I'm interested in, and it's something that you can't, even though there's all these genres, you can't, it's the experience of listening to it, whether you're playing it, whether you're enjoying it, or any kind of way that you are around it. It's just, it still can't be defined. And it's, how could I say this? It is that energy that I think opens the door. It kind of leads. And when I say mystery, I don't think of like something spooky. I just think of something that's just grand
Yeah,
that you can't really define it.
you
It's
can.
like something that you have to get to
Yeah,
know. And I feel like getting to know the Most High is like that. And the Most High gives like, those as examples of things that are that pretty much is a sign of like his communication in my that's
mm,
where I'm coming from at least. But even when you're saying that, when you're playing to the audience or whatever, you're giving that great energy, because that might be something that some people might even need.
yeah,
You're just giving it your all, and the fact that you have your high energy and you have like all this exuberance, that's amazing, man. People really dig. It's not like you're entertaining. This is just
yeah.
you. This is the exuberance that you
It's
want to
me.
share,
And it
you
feels
know.
like it's a conversation, whether I'm conscious of it or not. It's a conversation that I want to be in, and a conversation that other people want to be in,
Oh,
which is very, very beautiful. I don't see this as, well, this is my job, and so I'm just gonna get in there. Like every time I step on stage, it's like, ah, yeah, every
it's a
time, no
huge
matter what kind of
playground.
music, you know,
It's a huge
that's
playground,
it
man. Like it's,
is.
yep, pun
It's so
intended.
great. And I, like I said, I recognize that not everybody gets the chance to do this, or not everybody will get the chance to do this. But if I can just break off a little piece of my joy that I am experiencing it and share it with other people while I'm doing it, that makes me
That's
happy. That makes me happy because I'm in, like, when you're in music, no matter what you're singing about, like I've seen Ghost several times,
wow.
you know, Ghost is awesome. But it's like you're in the business of joy. And then, like, even like in the middle of the show or towards the end of the show, Tobias, the front man, will say stuff like, we need to love one another. We need to care about each other. He's, making fun of different things, but it's about joy. And I'm going to tell you that even though they could be singing about Satan, they could be not. We don't know. But I mean, to me, it's like watching like a musical theater grandiose kind of performance. But I will tell you that every single time I go to a Ghost concert, everybody is nice. Everybody is nice. I have met some of the nicest people at a Ghost concert than I've ever met at any other concert. And I mean, as far as they'll go out of their way to be like, hi, or, oh, I'm so sorry, or, oh, I'll hold your place in line, or they'll make Ghost like trinkets or bracelets or little things, and they'll just hand them out to like a fan will make it, and then fan will go and hand them out to other fans. And it's just, I can hear people talk, but this is my first concert, or this is my first Ghost, and everybody's like, oh, you're gonna love it. It's just this community. And even though they're singing about things that are kind of dark, that's not the goal, that's not the aim, you know so, I mean,
No,
just
I
music
totally
can
get it.
hit in so many different ways, from the most unexpected places, and I recognize that we are in the business of joy. Even people that are singing about stuff that you don't like or have a different political view, that what they're doing might not be your tea, but they're in the business of joy for the people that get joy from that, you know. Um,
That's that's what I think. Even when it comes to like from like, it's funny we're talking about the church, but even I got into the whole punk rock thing, still into it. But like, I mean, it's not the only thing that I'm into, but that's what I saw even more on a grassroots, like that community. Yeah, a lot of the stuff that like I have a death metal project that people would never even think is on some like more conscious stuff than like, no disrespect to any other death metal stuff, but I dig the fact that there's a lot of groups like that too. And people be surprised. Some of these guys, grindcore bands, are vegans. Like
yeah,
these guys are thinking about like animal rights and just
absolutely.
trying to be
Yeah.
peaceful, like
Yeah. Well, I met Derek Green of Sepultura, and
perfect
we
example.
met we met each other at a vegan restaurant. And we're like, you're vegan in rock? I'm vegan in rock. Yeah.
Yeah, he's totally vegan, man.
Super
And
vegan,
yeah,
which is
I've
great.
seen Sepultura, like, and he gets down. He gets down, man. Man, yeah, it's a trip. People would never know, man.
Yeah.
Like, just That's the thing, though. Like, I think even when we're talking about bands, like people kind of got bummed out on Slipknot, especially like the second album. But one thing that I remember, I have to share this. It might sound kind of crazy. The second album tripped me out because it just reminded me of like alienation that I felt like even as a teenager. It wasn't so much I didn't feel the violent things
Yeah.
that they were talking about, but I understood
Yes.
exactly where they were
Exactly.
coming from in that, you know, and that could be an outlet for like a lot of youth. Same with
Same thing
a
with
lot of other.
Disturbed.
Yep, it's a
You
trip,
know.
man. Even when it comes to hip hop too, like remember in the early 90s we had a lot of conscious rap that even some of the gangster stuff was crossing into that. Like Ice
Absolutely.
Cube was like a prophet, you know, like you know, stuff like that, you know,
Yeah.
like Public
Absolutely.
Enemy, you know.
There's room for it all. And I have a feeling that all of that stuff, all of the more conscious, the more connected uh genres, subgenres, whatever of music is on its way back because of where we are. But I mean, look at Not Like
Yep,
Us. Look at the
yep.
Super Bowl performance of Not Like Us. It is unlike anything we've ever had. We are
Nobody's
not
ever
Black
seen
Eyed
that.
Peas, boom, boom, powing. We are not, you know, Usher skating everywhere. We're not, Coldplay, all this kind of stuff. This is literally the most conscious, politically aware, politically savvy performance that has so many different levels to unpack, but at the same time, if you don't want to unpack it, you still get the point. You still see like this is, and I know people have said like, oh, the revolution ain't gonna happen on Apple Music TV Super Bowl halftime show.
They don't get it.
Okay, all
They don't
right.
get it. The thing is, he put it out there, and I'm glad he put it out there. I like the fact that he broke down, he
Mobb
put it
Deep,
right in their
yeah.
face. It's like, okay, you're going to take our history away from us. We're going to put it right in
In
your face. And
your
it went over
face.
a lot of people's heads, but we got it. And that was the
Oh
whole
yeah.
point.
I mean, you know what? I bet you, because he already, I think there was a Harvard course that includes his To Pimp a Butterfly. Like, this is his performance is definitely going to be in somebody's educational curriculum. It's going to be in somebody's museum. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But he is not the only one. But I
No.
think that he, kind of like Beyonce, and I can talk about that in a second. Beyonce's more modern works, but he is kicking the door down. He's opening the door for people to be thinking. So I would say people need to start getting ready for more conscious rap to come out, more conscious rock to come out, almost like a neo soul re-explosion, but different. It's gonna be a little bit different. Like, people are gonna feel like we need to talk, we need to say some stuff. So on to the Beyonce thing real quick. So Beyonce is cool. I'm not her number one fan. I think she's cool. But what I like about what she's been doing recently, and people thought that I was being all whatever, whatever, and trying to be too much in my brain. But what I like is that her last few records have not been about her. She has been the vehicle. So when she did her whole dance music thing, it wasn't just about, it's just Beyonce songs. She's
Nope.
given homage
Yes, she
to
is.
like Frankie Knuckles and
Yep.
like all these people from back in the day and the origin of dance music and making people think and making people go back. So now DJs are playing those OG 80s, 90s records, and people are like, oh shoot, they're all this kind of stuff, right? Then there's the country album, which is very controversial.
So glad she did that.
But let's talk about it. Okay, when I grew up, I have cousins that were, I don't think they do it anymore because they're much older, but they were in the rodeos. My first experience going to a black rodeo was the Bill Pickett Invitational Rodeo, where almost everybody there was black and they were all cowboys, cowgirls, cowgirls, all that kind of stuff. And I was like, this is so cool. Yet nobody talks about the the black experience when it comes to country, western, lifestyle, music, history. It has all been whitewashed. And so what she did was kick that door down. So
Yep.
then it becomes, because she understands whether you like her or not, she's got that kind of influence. And now
Oh, she
she's
does.
like, you know what I mean? So
Yep.
she's like, so then you start finding out, not me, but other people start finding out about modern country, black country artists, and going all the way back. You know, people are starting to learn about Charlie Pride and all this kind of stuff they didn't even know about, they didn't think about. You know, let's talk about the term cowboy.
Yep.
Cowboy was originally made to like just demean black cowhands because the
Yep.
term was cow hand. You're working with the cows with your hands, you know, it was very literal. And so that, you know, as you, we have seen in movies and all this kind of stuff, when a person wants to demean a black man, they call him boy. When they
Yep.
want to demean a black woman, they call them girl, because you can never grow up. You always have to be inferior to some kind of way, which also speaks to, you know, these people and how they see children as not autonomous outside of themselves. But that's a whole nother story. Anyway, then cowboys started to sound mad cool. So they took the name cowboy for themselves. And they're trying to tell us that cowboy is all white history. Black people are just visitors. And you, the name that you always save a horse, ride a cowboy. You're talking about like it came from, you know, so there's that. And that the I love that it just kind of got people talking. Her last few records have been getting people talking. Even Black is King, whereas it's not giving you your straight up like what I grew up with when I listened to Afro beat music, you know, like Fela, King Sunny Ade. Those are the two big ones that I remember the most that I can just turn on and be like, "Hey." But she's not giving you that deep because the people were not, the American people were not ready for that. She gonna give you more of a hybrid, more digestible, whatever. But she had all of these African artists in it. She's filming the videos directly in different African cities and continents and all this kind of stuff. So it's got people opening their minds, you know. So that's what I think is great about what Beyonce is doing, and what's she is helping to pave the way for this next generation of people that are really about to dig into this music and go back to where the roots are. You already have young kids that are teenagers that are listening to modern music, but they're also going back further than we went back when we were kids, listening to that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? So I feel like Kendrick and Beyonce are kicking some doors down and starting to do a whole new, just get people to think. And we need to think because we have not really been thinking that hard. So it's happening, which
Yeah.
I love. I think it's great. And it's going to be good for music because the industry itself is kind of breaking down because the industry realizes that the train has left the station. They cannot reel it back in. And the people are like, we don't really need y'all the same way because of
DIY.
technology and social media. So the whole game, everything, everything is upended, everything about to change in a good way, which I'm excited about, especially for music. One of the things that happens when we have these kind of social, you know, this going on is that some amazing music that changes the world comes out. And I'm stoked for that.
That's a cool thing, man. And I totally agree with what you're saying about Beyonce and Kendrick. People are talking about, like, I've heard their snide comments, but for me, I'm looking for consciousness, and I'm also looking for things that, especially as black folks, like, you know, that really will give attention to what we're going through. And I
Mm-hmm.
feel like, yeah, they might not be in the same strata as a lot, but at the same time, at least they are saying something. People are always trying to basically pocket watch them or trying to shame them. But the thing is, hey, you ain't doing it. Don't leave them alone. Their message is fine to me. And I like the
Absolutely.
fact that there is, because for a while, people, you know, it's easy for people to be, you know, very nihilistic and kind of not really even care. But it just shows you that there's still a lot of us that care.
So
I grew
many.
up in the, I'm a 70s born kid, grew up in the late 80s and early 90s. So I remember groups like Brand Nubian, Ice Cube, and then on the other side, Dead Kennedys, Bad Brains,
Yes.
you know, all these guys are conscious,
Yes.
you know? Um,
Absolutely. And that's what's going to, I
but the
mean,
thing,
we're going, you know, to be a little woo woo. To me, in 2019, I knew something big was going to happen in 2020 because 2020, perfect vision. we're going to start seeing some stuff. And what happened?
Mask came straight off.
Now, once
Totally.
you see stuff, you can't unsee stuff.
Nope.
Now we have to talk about it. You got to talk about it to yourself. You got to process it. Talk to your friends and family. If you're creative, you got to start making art that reflects your process of this. You know, we're kind of getting started. You know, we need a catalyst. A catalyst is happening around the world. Without getting too deep for those that understand. But music is the one thing. The one thing. Because if you don't have access to TV and the radio, you can still sing. Our ancestors, those that had enslaved ancestors, they didn't have the radio. They were singing to each other. They were singing to themselves. When I was like I said, when I was a baby, my mom was singing to me in the crib, and I was singing to help self-soothe in the crib myself. Music is always going to be here. You cannot take it away. It's going to happen. When people go and they do their marches, what do they start doing? Singing. They start making up a song, making up a rhyme together, trying to step in time. Music is always going to be here. Music is always going to evolve. Music is always going to carry us through. It's just going to start getting better. So like when I was saying, I was going through with my god sister, the music, the R&B, just R&B itself. R&B from 94 to 2004. You can see the big change, the big shift. Once the early 2000s came, the music that had different kinds of complexities, you know, key changes, harmonies, multi-sub-genres, that started to fade out, and it turned into like R&B. They were like Nelly, country grammar. That was considered R&B, which is not, but it
Yeah,
was
it was.
on
It's
the
not.
R&B charts, you know. T-Pain, some of his stuff is definitely R&B-ish, but like T-Pain with a heavy focus on a rapper, you know, that kind of stuff. And also the music's turned from let's think about something to less, like there's always room for everything, right? But the top chart hits where, I don't want to say this because it sounds bad. I'm not going to say that. The top chart hits were just about, I'm going to get high, I'm going to black out, she looked good, let's go to the club. And that's it.
I know what you were thinking though, because I know what you're talking about.
And I
Trust me.
feel like that mess was so subconsciously subversive and manufactured to pull us away, you know what I mean, from thinking. It started to become more individualist above all, not just like express yourself. It was just like F everybody else, I'm gonna do what I want. You know, I'm gonna do donuts till the wheels fall off. I don't care who I hurt because I'm tipsy and I'm drunk tonight.
Man.
And I mean, I'm not making it up. I was going through a decade of music trends, and these are the top 100 US charts. And then the music started to become more digitized, which again, there's a time and a place, but for some reason, almost all of the songs were very, very, very digitized. And then people started, like if you noticed, I remember when Usher's voice started to sound kind of T-Pain-ish, started to sound kind of Justin Bieber-ish, like everybody started getting that
Auto tune.
that vocoder auto-tune
Yeah.
voice. You know,
Yep.
like oh, shoot.
What's up, Afro Goth Aesthetics? Man. Who else? Nomad Vagabond. We got Lisa Diva. Oh, I'm bad with some of these names. Sorry, you guys. Morty Basil. Um, oops. I hope she's okay. Oh no. She'll come back. Man. Heavy stuff, man. Real cool talk, man. and I knew what she was saying. Although I didn't listen to like a lot of R&B back then. I did check in at times, but yeah, it was a certain thing that went down. But I'll let her expound off of that. She's coming back. It's good. This thing's gotta rock it.
Oh,
Yay!
sideways? What? How do I fix it? My phone died, and now I'm upside down and sideways. I don't
Man, I'm so sorry.
Here we go. Here we go. Here.
Yeah,
I
me,
thought
me and P. Michael did an interview like that. It was all lopsided, but it's all good either
well,
way,
it was
man.
supposed. My phone said it was charging, and then it just stopped charging. So I'm back
Man,
with a different angle.
you're talking about the R&B and how like it that did seem a lot more plastic, and not to diss or anything, but even with the auto tune and all that stuff, you
Because
know.
like my thing of it is like, okay, T-Pain's Buy You a Drink is legit. Okay, maybe it's not deep, conceptually, but if you listen to the actual music artistry, the vocal arrangement, what? And there was a lot of people that thought, I can T-Pain too. And it's like, nah, you can't T-Pain. But then all of a sudden, it became almost mandatory for everybody, like even Black Eyed Peas. Let's talk about that. You go from joints and jams to L'Chaim, Monday, Tuesday,
I gotta
Wednesday.
interject on something about that. My old band opened up for
Yeah,
Black Eyed Peas before Fergie, so I remember how they were with Falling Up. Falling Up was almost, I mean, that was an on point album, dude. Like, so I understand. And then hearing it, I'm like, okay, they're making their money, but it is
it
different,
was.
you know.
Well, and the thing is, like, I am not gonna lie that I was here for Ella Funk, and I was here for whatever one was before that. Like, I had that album that had Let's Get It Started before it was Let's Get It Started.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
before they had to rip them off the shells and I mean, I was watching Lakers games, and they did not censor that mess. People be out, let's get it started. So like, but it was, at the time, it was like, okay, this is fun. Obviously not saying that the R slur, but I mean, like, as far as like, it was fun. There was some funk in it. It seemed like, there was some kind of point to it. They had that crossover with Sergio Mendes. That was Black Eyed Peas, Sergio Mendes crossover, which I thought was a lot of fun. It was cool. They had like Q-Tip on it, and Jill Scott, I think, was on it, and
Oh,
they had Erykah Badu
I
on it. And
missed that. I gotta hear that. I've not
yeah,
heard that.
it was really fun. It's like Sergio Mendes, his songs, but they read, so in some cases they might change the words or whatever, But it was like fun Black Eyed Peas version of it. And I love that album. There's some songs that are not as great, obviously, as others, but I love that album. But then it was like, I remember in 2001, December 2001, right? So there was 9/11. And then December 2001, my family and I went on a family trip to Germany to visit my uncle that I told you about. And I've never been to Germany before, and we'd never done that before. Anyway, we get to Germany, and they're playing the song that became their big, big hit. But it was before the song came out in America. What is that? The one where they're talking about all the days
Is it
in Lahai.
Let's Get It Started? No?
No, that's from when I was like, yeah, this one. What is that song? Uh, I got a feeling. I got a
Oh, I got a
feeling.
feeling.
Ooh, that one.
Yeah,
And
I know
so
that one.
I'm in Germany, and I'm thinking, oh, they made a specific song for people that don't really understand English. That's kind of cool that they did that, because it was so broken down, and so, like, the lyrics were so simple compared to what they've done before, you know, and it seems like they're just saying random things, like, we're going to say Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So I'm thinking, like, okay, this is kind of cool. If English isn't your first language, you want to have a fun way to learn words, Black Eyed Peas is here for you. I was like, there's no way this is going to be a thing in America, though, because it's so like real basic and it's so not like them. So, how cool is it that they are making something for people that are not native English speakers? And then I came home and it was like #1 song. And I was like, wow. And like I've sung in weddings and stuff, and people are like, I want to hear that song. And I was like,
That's
how did
hilarious.
we get from joints and jams to naming all the days of the week? You know? And not like in
That's
a cool way, like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, not like that. I'm talking about Sunday, Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday. I can't say my days of the week right now. My brain is fried. But you know
Are
what
you
I'm talking
talking
about.
about
Saturday Love.
the kind of like this Saturday
Saturday
Love?
Love.
Yeah, Alexander O'Neal
Yeah. Alexander O'Neal and
and Pharrell.
Sherelle. Yeah. That was cool. I like how they did that. I don't mind when people break things down and it's kind of simple, but this was so simple. And then everything started to be really simple. And there's a time and a place, but like if everybody's doing it, it feels like now we are being subconsciously made to believe that this is the standard and this is what we have to do.
Man.
And it was wild.
Yeah.
It was wild. And like I said, anybody can go online and go look at the chart, the R&B chart listings or the pop chart listings from 94 to 2004 and tell me that I am wrong.
That's a trip. That's a trip study. That man. Well, as you say, there's a new consciousness, and to be honest, a lot of it's kind of a rekindling of what we've been doing as a tradition when it comes to Black people playing music, whether it be blues, gospel, jazz, rock and roll, and hip hop and anything else, disco too, house
Go
music,
to,
techno. It's a part
yeah,
of all of that consciousness. I mean, to think people will use the term woke and misuse it, I'll say, but that's our
yeah,
vernacular. I mean, the earliest forms of anybody using that word is like Lead Belly and the Scottsboro Boys that got killed.
yep,
He used that, and we've been using that word. So for me, it'll always be
yes,
consciousness. That's the whole point
yes,
of our whole thing,
yes, absolutely, absolutely. So I mean, something's gonna change, and something's got to give, and things are giving, and like I don't have a problem with simple, basic, let me just throw, I don't want to think about things music. But if everything becomes that, there's something going on there. Because I'm gonna tell you, I was about that. I'm blue, da ba dee da ba da da ba dee da. I was about that. You know what I mean? That was fun. It really. I guess he was talking about he was sad, and everybody else around him is sad. But it was mostly like, we were just having fun with it. But at the same time, there was other music that spoke to other elements and other parts of life. One thing I can say is that a consistent game player has been rock, because rock will continuously talk about everything from societal issues to teen angst to depression to let's party. Like it has constantly been there. And it's interesting because during that time, during the early 2000s, at least in California, maybe not in the Midwest, but at least in California, rock music seemed like it kind of went away a little bit. But it makes sense because they had to give rise to I'm being so conspiracy theorist, but it's like they had to kind of give rise to the music that won't let us rise. If
Oh,
that makes sense. Because you can go back and you can listen to your Slipknot, you can listen to, 3 Days Grace, you can listen to Avenged Sevenfold, you can listen to all this music, and they're still talking about something. They still have the opportunity to still discuss the breadth of things. Because even country music stopped talking about stuff. Like country music turned into party music, and then it starts to become this crossover which again, I'm not hating on crossovers. I'm not hating on changes. I think it's great. I think it's beautiful. I like when we come together. I just think it's suspicious when everybody is after one sound, and there are gatekeepers that can determine what the sounds are that come out.
That's the problem that I have with it. I don't like being troped as a people because it happens to us all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I constantly made a backlash against that and call people that do that trope dopers because they get high off of that. We don't. We've like the reason that I mean, like I feel like it's just I'm glad that you're bringing this up because especially being a multifaceted artist, that just goes to show that hey, we can't be tropes and we're diverse people no matter what we
Yeah.
do. You know,
Yeah.
even certain rock and rollers, they want to think that you're supposed to either sound like Living Color or Lenny Kravitz, but we have all kinds of different people.
Yeah.
Like even if you want to talk about even within R&B and hip hop, a person like D'Angelo would have probably, I mean, I'm sure he seemed odd at the time, like, and even when you think of, avant-gardist hip hop cats, like,
Yeah.
underground stuff in LA, like, people like Freestyle Fellowship
Yeah.
or CVE,
Yeah.
like those guys are, I mean, that just shows that anything that we do, you can't trope it. You can't just put it in a box because it ain't the same. But yeah, I'm sorry.
No, but
I had to spawn
it's
off of that.
true. It's true. And so I am liking what is starting to happen. Like, I love that Ray exists because, you know, every time I've performed with her a couple of times, and it's always live. She is always live. The band is always live. She gives 10 trillion%. She's not thinking, oh my God, do I look sexy and fine right here? And she always does. She always looks sexy and fine. But I'm just saying, like, she's like, I'm going to take my shoes off because I don't want to be thinking about wearing shoes. I just want to give. This is what I'm here for. And the fact that she exists, the fact that she was on the Grammys, I think she's from Brixton, that's amazing. And that's inspiring to me. You've got Benson Boone, who has a really great voice to me. I think his voice is really cool. But he's out here backflipping off of pianos and stuff.
That's
Nobody's doing it.
crazy. Yeah, I was like, what the heck?
You know,
I'd never heard of him before I saw that. I'm like, who is this? I have to ask my mom, like,
yeah. I saw him before he went on stage. I was like, are you going to be flipping? He goes, oh, I'm going to be flipping. I was like, okay.
Man, that's crazy.
And that's so cool because he is giving it to you. He is giving it to you. You have Teddy Swims. He's giving it to you. It's like, I am happy that is happening, that we are getting artistry, that we are getting songwriting, that we are getting performance, and like, this was the first Grammys in a long time that I knew every single act.
So cool.
I was like,
That is
oh
so.
shoot, oh shoot, oh shoot. Like, just the new talent category. You've got what's her name, Chappelle Rowan, who just totally has her own thing going on. In some cases she's kind of like a baby Madonna, which Madonna was like a baby Grace Jones. And then you've got Sabrina Carpenter, who is something about her that's different, is that she's going back to, I can sing, I can act, I can dance. She has a Christmas show that's like a variety show, and she's giving personality, and it just reminds me of Dolly Parton. And now she and Dolly Parton have a duet version of one of her songs now.
That's a trip, man.
You've got, I mean, it's really exciting to see. They had Shakita there, and Shakita's from, an earlier time, but I feel like younger people seeing that are like, oh shoot, we can do that, because everything has been, I did vocal performance coaching for this competition show, and a lot of the young acts, I had to encourage them to open up. That it's okay and that you can be yourself, because they have been, because this is like pandemic generation kids. So they are used to YouTube and TikTok. So that's all in your house.
Wow.
So you don't need to project. And the square is only so big. So you don't need to really give and entertain. It's not really about connecting to who you are and just being authentic to yourself. It's how do I meet the needs of what the people expect based on what the parameters are. So there were some kids that were like, I can't project. There's no way. You know, they were scared to do it, and there was others that just felt like their voice didn't go like that. And I would say something as simple as, okay, if you see your friend across the street, what do you say? Do you say, hey girl, come here? And they're like, no. I said, well, how would you say it? And I'd go to the other side of the room. I'm like, what would you say? And they'd be like, hey girl, come here. And I'm like, you literally projected, but they're not used to that. You know, they're used to just this only. And so seeing these acts, seeing these artists that are going out there really giving something unique to themselves, really trying to sing, that I'm excited about. That's going to really change. I won't say it's going to change the game, it's just going to return the game to something that was inspiring, something that was encouraging. Like, you can't tell me that Beyonce is the only singer in the world. That makes no sense. There's a lot of Beyoncés that exist in these streets.
Yep.
There's so many Beyoncés. There's a lot of Kendricks. There's a bunch of Benson. There's a lot of us ripping and running around out there. Just sometimes, just like me, we need to see that we have permission.
Well, this is the reason I do this platform, because for me, I not only touch on the history of this music being ours, I also talk about when the music got co-opted and basically, you know, at the time that, you know, they couldn't segregate the dance floor, so they segregated the industry and just regulated us to one part. And even, you know, all up till now, like, I just want to make sure that people like yourself, even though you're known, I'm honored that you even even came on here, you know, like, I just think it's so cool just to have, you know, give a voice to us specifically in our innovation of this genre, and that we never left it. Even when it seemed like we did, we never left it.
Here.
You know, we've
this whole time
been here, you
And
know.
I think it's great what it is that you're doing. I think the platform is great. That's why I reached out to you. Was like, I don't know if I qualify, but can I be on your show?
And like,
Please.
no, you definitely qualify. You know, with all the stuff that you've done. And with that, I have to ask. So, what are you, aside from the Bowie tribute, what are you up to like these days, whether it's solo or just with anyone else? I'm curious.
So,
What should we look out
I've
for?
still been working on this record, this album of mine, and I'm excited because I am making progress. So, you know, thank you everyone for your patience. But it's coming. I'm excited, and I'm hoping to have something out this year. It's also kind of hard sometimes when, you know, you're touring with other people and you picking up gigs, and, you know, we live in LA, and LA is not cheap. So
No, it isn't.
you know, we gotta do what we do to pay these bills. So there's that. I've got big tours coming up with Billy Idol starting in April, the end of April or the top of May. US and then UK EU tours coming up. It's off and on through like September. So
Wow.
you will, if you see anything within the next few months, that's like Billy Idol. So it's like the US tour is Billy Idol and Joan Jett.
Oh man, that's gonna be rocking, man.
And then the UK EU one is like not stadium, like arena. I guess all of these are arenas pretty much, I think, and festivals, even the US, because we are playing the Kia Forum in Inglewood, which I'm excited because that's taking me back home, and I've always wanted to perform on that stage. And I've seen bands and acts perform songs that I've sang on that stage, but I've never been on it.
That's
So
awesome.
I mean, I was born walking distance from that arena, you know. So, and I saw Prince several times there.
Yeah, I saw Prince there too. I took my big sister. I've always wanted to take her to see him, and that was a perfect opportunity. And I lost my voice that night.
Oh my gosh. We kept going like it was church. And because the tickets were so cheap, we were like, who wants to come? Who wants to come this week? You know?
Heck yeah.
Great. So I mean, and you know, that was before Staples Center. That was the biggest place. You know, like there's a big picture that I took a picture with next to, and it's Billy Idol when he was young. He performed there. You know, Kiss performed there. They have a live album there, I think. All kinds of legends have performed there on that stage in that venue, and I will get to be one of those people.
Awesome.
Billy Idol has a forthcoming record. I don't know when it's dropping. I think maybe he posted something cryptic today, so that possibly could be about it. But I am singing on one of the songs, which I was like, and then, yeah, that's all I know so far. Life is very interesting, and things pop up that I don't expect or whatever. So other cool things could happen too. Yeah.
That's awesome. I was gonna mention one thing about Inglewood that I've told a lot of people this. Inglewood is kind of like an unsaid Black diasporic city. I noticed that because there's not only like FBA or Foundational Black Americans, there's a lot of Caribbeans like Trinidadians, Jamaicans, and Belizeans, but also Africans like Ethiopians and Nigerians. I just had dinner at a Nigerian restaurant. Veronica's off of freaking,
I've heard of that in there. Yeah.
Love that spot.
You're absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. It's a very cool town. LA itself is pretty cool if you think about it.
Yeah, I love LA. I'm from the LA County, like Long Beach. That's where I was born and raised, but I hang out in South Central and Leimert Park as well, you know. So I love LA. I like to go there.
When I was a little kid, we lived in Long Beach.
Yeah, what part? I gotta hear this.
The Long Beach Compton border area. So like we were walking distance from Compton College.
So North Long Beach, yep. Like near 68th Street or like off Artesia.
I was a kid, but yes. I mean,
I know.
I can find my old house.
I kind of live in that area. North Long Beach.
It's just fun because like when there's like rappers from the West Coast, they're basically listing off like the roll call of my life, like Long Beach, Compton, Watts, South Central, every place. And now I live in Boyle Heights, which is pretty cool, I will have to say. And the history of this town, I definitely go into a deep dive when anyone wants, to give the deep dive. But I will say that Boyle Heights at one time was nicknamed the Ellis Island of the West.
Wow. I know it's like predominantly Mexican American or Chicano, but yes, I heard there's a lot of Polish people, like Ashkenazi Jewish, Russians,
yeah, there
Italian.
Was a big Jewish community, Japanese,
wow.
Black. There's like everybody. And the Negro Leagues, when it was cold on the East Coast, they would come to Boyle Heights. That would be their hub. They would do games out here, and then they would do West Coast games coming from here. And there's a venue in Boyle Heights called it's called the Paramount. I don't know if it was always called the Paramount, and I could be misnaming it, but I think it's the Paramount. But major Black history and Chicano history went through there.
I know about a lot about the Chicano history, but I'd love to find out more about the Black history. Yeah. And I know like Central Avenue and also like Bronzeville. My friend did like a mini documentary on Black Bronzeville because it was in Little Tokyo. He's Japanese American. And I'm like, I didn't know about that until that time. But I knew about Central Avenue.
Like a lot of people think that LA is just Hollywood and there's no culture, and even the Hollywood aspect is culture, people. But LA is so gigantic, you
Yep.
can't even put your mind around it. And there's so much history of so many different types of people. And like Boyle Heights itself, if you don't want to believe me about it being diverse, go to the Evergreen Cemetery in Boyle.
Wow.
It's one of the first cemeteries. Boyle Heights, I think, was one of the first, if not the first suburb outside of downtown LA. And there's um there's sites, headstones from 1700s, 1800s, and you'll see Black people, Latino people, Jewish people, Chinese people, Japanese people. You'll see some of the people put their family members' pictures so you can see it. There'll be the Japanese ones and the Chinese ones because they use a different, writing. Like that's what you'll see. You won't see
That's
it,
amazing.
and it's all throughout. You'll see some sections, like, oh, this was the Black section, but then it kind of, as time went on, things kind of whatever, but it's like all these people are there. And also a lot of people who these big streets are named after are buried there.
Pio Pico, man.
Mm-hmm.
He and
Mm-hmm.
he's a black Mexican descent
Yes,
guy.
he
A lot
was.
of people don't know that. Biddy
Yes, he
Mason,
was.
who's first million black millionaire, and I
Millionaire.
didn't know about her until a few years ago. But I'm
Yeah.
like, we've done a lot.
We
Dolphins of Hollywood. I mean, the first in-store record store that had a radio station was off of Central Avenue. We have,
Yep.
man, LA is awesome.
There's a lot of history here, and there's a reason why, that's not expressed, especially the history of us coexisting, you know, like when I was a kid and I would learn about, I'm so civil justice minded and hearted and like equality minded and hearted and everything. And I remember thinking like, I took a Japanese American studies class in college because I'm like, we always talk about, I know about the Black contribution, I know about the white contribution, I know about the Latino contribution to an extent here, but they never talk about Asian American contribution or the history of them here. So, I mean, I didn't even learn about internment camps until college, you know.
Man,
So they take all those things out so that we can't know the history and we also can't know how we work together. So like one of the coolest things that happened on the road with Elvis Costello is we were in, I cannot think of the I don't know, where the Civil Rights Museum is. The Civil Rights Museum that's in the the motel where Martin Luther King got shot.
um, Memphis? No, no, wait,
And I can't Google anything because my phone is dead, but
man,
it's a civil rights museum. And he was like, hey, we're in town and it's over there. Let's go. So we all went. And one of the things I was the most proud to see as a human being, not just a Black person, but also as a human being, was the wall of mugshots of the people that were in the freedom rides.
man,
Because they don't talk about how everybody was up on this. It wasn't just a couple of white people was there and then it was all Black people. You Asian people, Jewish people, like anybody that believed that they were a human and believed in equality and believed that what was happening to Black people and other people of color was wrong was there. And there's their mugshot, a whole wall of diverse people's mugshots on the wall. And I used to be like, why don't they ever talk about that? Like when I was in high school, I was the president of the Black Student Union. And it was the biggest club on campus because one of the things that I liked to bring in was how Black people in other cultures have come together throughout time. And so people were like, whoa, this is crazy. It's like we are all humans and we all build this stuff together. Man and whoever wants to control stuff wants to make it seem like one is bigger than the other or we're different, just like in this really dark way, you know, versus celebrating all of our differences. And that kind of brings us back to music. That's what music can do. But yeah, it was cool that he took us to that museum. It was cool that, you know, he even thought to do that, because he could have been like, yeah, you guys should check it out one day. But, you know, just to see that, just to understand and remember the humanity. It's kind of what stops me from being like, F everybody that ain't black, because I'm like, we are all human at the end of the day. And most people, if not all people, just want to live. Like when you travel the world, you're like, we might not understand what each other is saying, but we all literally want the same thing. We absolutely all want to. And that's what's beautiful about LA and like places like New York and stuff like that, is like it's this melting pot of all these people throughout the years who have built something. And then somebody turns around and says, hey, like when I was in junior high, there would be these black versus Mexican fights. And it never made sense to me and my best friend, because she's Mexican and I'm black, and we didn't see the issue. But somebody has decided somehow, somewhere, that we should not like each other. And it's just a big lie. And I feel like with all that's going on right now, that big lie is being exposed once more. And therefore, going back to the music is the vehicle of change. The music is the vehicle that's going to actually prove our togetherness and inspire so many great big things. And I think we'll come out with a whole bunch of great leaders. And we're not going to have like that one guy. Like we're not going to have the Malcolm X and the Cesar Chavez. We're not going to have that. It's going to be groups. It's going to be collectives of leaders, you know, moving forward in the industry and in the world generally, and in America generally. I predict with an open heart and a hopeful open heart.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, you're in on it, especially with being a musician, you know, and that's just the creativity. It's creative, but also it bridges
Yes.
gaps in a lot of ways, you know.
Yes.
Well, heck, I know your phone's probably on edge right
My
now,
phone is dead.
but
My iPad is charged.
man, well, we'll wrap it up because,
Yeah.
man, I really appreciate you. Like, even like this has been fun, man.
Yeah.
Seriously, I really
Likewise.
appreciate,
Thank you for
you
having me.
know, and thanks for even getting on your iPad, man. I'm so
It's
sorry.
not your fault. My right charger is outside the room, and I have a cat. And if I let her know that I'm in here, you will hear cat the whole
Oh
time.
man.
It's gonna be like meow, meow, meow. So
Yeah, my charger is tripping, man. It's not charging as good as it usually does, and then I'm just like, all right, okay, dude. Like,
oh well,
man, I don't
it
know.
didn't
I'll probably need a new
die.
one.
It didn't let you down, and it allowed me to get back on and talk to you.
Yeah. Man, yeah, it's at the point where it makes me turn the phone off to charge it like full, and I have to wait. So
Mm.
I'm glad I had the charge like as much as I could, you know. So it's all good. But with that, here's the thing: I want you to give your social media, Cash App, whatever, and also what I like you to do, and I have all my guests do that too, is give a word of wisdom. You've been dropping gems a lot though, but still give us one, you know, like.
Okay, well, so my social media, everything is Kitten Kuroi. KITTENKUROI. So that's Instagram, Facebook. I'm not really on TikTok, but I have a TikTok. Um, and I'm on Blue Sky. If anybody's on Blue Sky, and Threads. But I mean, I'm the only Kitten Kuroi, so you can literally just Google KITTENKUROI, and you will find every single thing, even more than you need to know about my personal business. And and the same for Cash App, Venmo, at I think Cash App has a dollar sign, but Kitten KITTENKUROI. If you would like to give a little coinage, that would be cute.
Throw that
But
coinage in when you guys can,
no,
man. Like, Rock that Cash App. And I have to give a special shout out to Safra, because she's the one that gave me the idea. She's all, I'm like, no, don't be ashamed. Give that Cash App, because cats should be, if cats want to throw something in there, go for it. That's why I'm glad,
I'm not
give that.
not mad at it. We all need to eat, we all, especially living in LA. LA has so much culture. It's beautiful. There's so many things that you can do that are free, but
Yep.
Rent is not. Rent
No fun.
is not one of the things that's free. Health insurance ain't one of the things that's free. So, there's that. But yeah, follow me, all that good stuff. Dropping wisdom. What wisdom can I give? Wisdom that I can give is when you see another human being and they look different from you, that is not a bad thing to recognize. Like, accept that is absolutely beautiful, and that if all the crayons in the box were one color, that would be terribly horrible. No one wants that. We appreciate the ceruleans and the sunshine yellows and all this kind of stuff. So see the beauty in it. Don't do this I don't see color stuff, because you literally do, unless you're colorblind. And even then you can see some colors. Okay?
Yeah,
there is no okay? There is no I'm colorblind. That's a cop-out. You see me. I want you to see me. I am a Black woman. African American, if you wish. Okay? You see me. I am a human being. I look different from you, and you look different from me. And that is fantastic. And that should be the same with music. If somebody is making a country album that you don't like, recognize that that's just a different album. It's just different. There's other things you can choose from. You can spend more time talking about the stuff you like than the stuff that you don't like. And remember, like we said earlier, music is the one thread for most people that holds us together. When there's no power, we still have music, and there's power in that music, and that music can charge you. So love, respect, support your musicians. Do not think that we are out here just having a blast and that's all we need, because we literally need to eat just like you.
Yep.
But yeah, love on one another, see the beauty in one another, vote in ways that represent the beauty that you believe in, not the hate that you've been told or whatever, because these are all lies. We all want the same thing. That's what I want to share.
Word. Well, thanks a lot. Oh, I missed a few comments. I'm so sorry. Chad Ferry says thank you, and Saint Sinner, man, interesting name. LA truly has everything but weather and easy commutes. Hey, we got our own weather, man. I like our weather.
I mean, lately our weather has been weird, to be fair. We went from fires to flooding. But
Lord
look
of mercy.
now. Look at us now. We look great, right?
To everybody, all the fire cats. I mean, all the people that were sorry. Oh man, my more sorry for all those that are victims of the fire. Shouts to all of them and their families, man. No matter where they are.
I have some of the family I was talking about that was riding in the rodeos. They lost their house.
Oh man.
Fire. So
Lord,
LA's been going through some stuff.
Lord,
but we'll get through it.
Most deaf.
We always.
Well, man. Yeah, we definitely, man. I'm like, it's a trip, man. But I'll say this. Thanks a mad lot again. I really appreciate you rocking and like even wanting to come on this platform. It's been mad cool. And, let us know, like, whenever you have any advertisements, and we'll promote that too. So, we really appreciate it. And, I don't even think I told you my real name. My real name is Orlando. I also go by Odd Rocker or Audio as well, but they're just so yeah. Sorry, and all the guys that I didn't tell you guys my name either. Somebody asked me my name once, and I didn't realize that I didn't say it. So it's like,
It's okay. I used to do gigs with this one artist, and he would introduce. It was beautiful because he would introduce everybody in the band, and then he'd be like, "Thank you." And as he walked away, I'd get the microphone and be like, "And that was blah blah blah." And you go,
hilarious, man.
yeah.
Well, heck, it was mad cool having you,
Thank
and you
you.
guys. Great word of wisdom. Also, like check out Kitten Kuroi's. It's a shame I took Japanese, and I'm still getting the name bad. I'm saying it wrong.
You're saying it fine.
Man,
All
Kitten
you can roll the R if you want.
Kitten Kuroi. Oh my goodness, Gomen Nasai.
Go in the
I'm
side.
sorry.
It's okay.
Oh, what? Oh, Nihongo wa nashimasu ka?
Hey,
Oh, all my Japanese friends are like, oh,
skoshi. It's been a
watashi no
while.
nihongo o skoshi desu.
It's been a while, but that was Japanese language and culture was my minor.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's so cool. So you've been to Japan. Oh, we got to talk about
I
this.
haven't been to Japan yet. I've been to the airport.
Same here. When I went to China, I was at an airport.
So, I mean, I was like, oh my gosh, I can read the signs. It's everywhere. And one day I hope to take him up on it, and I hope he remembers. But I do have an open invitation to visit Japan from the front man of One OK Rock. So if he
That's
remembers
awesome.
me,
That'd be mad cool. Well, heck, we'll definitely, if you want to come back, let us know. We'll rock it, and thanks for being a part of this series. I do the Black History of Rock Month, which is in November, and then also do Black History Month. Yes, Black rock and roll history has a celebration month as well.
hey, we
Or
got to
Black
take
History of Rock.
everything we can get.
That's right.
And
Man,
also,
John Henry Clark said you got it.
we don't need Google or some
Nope.
whatever to tell us when to celebrate ourselves. Okay,
Exactly.
we don't need that. We didn't have it before. It didn't
Exactly.
come standard. We are here. So it's like Black people, Latino people, Asian people, LGBTQIA plus people. We celebrate each other. We celebrate ourselves. We don't need anybody to tell us when to celebrate and that we can.
Nope.
And if you're able to take off work, take off work.
Yep. And it's funny. It was either John Henry Clark or Ben Yakonen, Joseph Ben Yakonen, that says you don't have to ask for a holiday, you take a holiday. So that I was inspired by that.
For a day. You absolutely do. If you got to call in a sick day, you got to tell them what you're actually doing. Just don't put it on social media.
Yeah.
Go celebrate yourself. We need to celebrate ourselves, celebrate each other. All of the diversity is beautiful and lovely. And if we can't, especially even as Black people, because yes, we have a lot of darts thrown at us at all times. While there tends to be, group du jour that pops up that becomes a target, while that's happening, we're still getting it. So we gotta, sometimes we feel like, well, shoot, I don't care about nobody else. We care about other people. We also have to make sure we're taking care of ourselves.
Word. Well, thanks again, Kitten. I'm going to sign off with Black History of Rock and Roll. Black History of Rock and Roll. Black History of Rock and Roll. Peace. Best in me, I'm a woman. That's Kadusa.